All right, we should be live. Hello, all, and welcome to the JCPS Digital Learning Channel. And today we're going to be joining a few, as you can see at the bottom of the screen there, a few of our leaders in the district talking about the virtual clubs in JCPS. Great things going on with clubs. At 1 o'clock, after that quick half hour blazes by, we've got the perfect blend, chapters 1 through 4, and we're going to see a little bit of this book today going around with different chapters broken up and some little breaks in between with things like Nearpod at 1:30. 2 o'clock, we got perfect blend again. Then at 2:30, we'll be seeing the Girls Who Game team from Lassiter Middle School. And then finally at 3 o'clock, the final 9 through 11 chapters of The Perfect Blend. All right. My crew at the bottom. Who is going to be talking first today and who's going to be presenting?
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Reynolds from the Digital Innovation Team. And I asked all these friends to join us today just to share what they're doing. I'm curious, and I know that so many other people are curious. We got to see their really awesome different slides for their clubs, and I just want them to have a chance to share what they're doing. So I'll share my screen, if that works. And I will introduce all of these friends. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so we have Raymond here if he wants to wave. I can't see you guys now. And then Patricia from Slaughter Elementary.
Hi.
Hi. And can you help me with your name?
Nishan.
Nishan.
I'm actually Jennifer. I'm here for Nishan.
Oh, perfect. Hi, Jennifer. And
Hey,
he is from Cochrane.
Yep.
And then Penelope, are you here from Semple?
Yes. Hello.
Awesome. Hi. And Latoya from Price Elementary. Maybe. And
Hello.
then Victor. Hi. From Camerer. I'm not a middle school person. Hi, Victor. And then Harlina, thanks so much for joining from Lincoln Elementary. And then we also have from our digital innovation team, 3 of our leaders who got to do a club as well. We have Kathleen, Danielle, and Elaine.
And I just want to say there are 4 Zone 2 teachers here with us today. So that's really exciting.
It is. All right. Raymond's going to tell you guys a little bit about what he's doing with these clubs.
Sure. So before I even get started, really, everybody else here is the most important people because honestly, our teachers who are the ones who made this whole thing go. COVID has been hard for everybody, but a lot of times there's been an innovation of necessity. And a lot of the work that these sponsors are doing came directly from our summer adventures and summer league that we offered. A lot of people here actually were involved in that. And it was a lot of asynchronous project-based learning for a lot of the projects that were offered. And at the end, actually, Mr. Deal, he's on here, so I'll give him credit. He forwarded an email from a parent that said, hey, like this could be really good for clubs. And to be honest, that was really like the catalyst of the discussion, especially once teachers got settled into NTI 2.0, just giving students an opportunity based upon interest to become those lifelong passionate learners that we want them to be. So we put out the call, very last minute call in September to say, hey, if you'd be interested in doing a club, would love to have it. Kind of like NTI, there's a lot of unknowns, but we offered 80 K through 12. That was something that was super exciting, and clubs could be anything from filmmaking to Legos to Among Us, bird watching, yoga, you name it. Like there was clubs that I was so just surprised with and happy with that we were able to offer students. In fact, that the call was like so great, like, hey, we like these clubs, that we put out a second call, and we hope to next week launch an additional 30 clubs that go in live in February. And what really is exciting is that as these teachers talk, and as everyone talks, these sponsors talk, just this is something that we could hopefully continue throughout. COVID, as I said, has been hard, but a lot of things that we've done, as I said, innovation by necessity, and it's just great to see all these things be offered. And a lot of our sponsors just wanted to get involved with kids, and kids have loved it. So that's my spiel. Thank you guys so much. To be honest, you guys are the work behind it. So I just wanted to say thank you again.
All right, thanks, Raymond. He's our best leader with all his emails and keeping us up to date and providing us with this opportunity. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of hang out and have a conversation and share about your all's clubs through a few questions. So the first one is, how did you develop your club theme?
Well, I can start with that one. With Patty Malka here. My club was Create, Craft, Crimp, Crinkle, and Crumple. And the thing that made me most develop was what would my students, and mine would be kindergarten through second grade, what would they have at home that is at their disposal, that no materials or things you need to purchase. So mine was to use recycled materials and to make different items from that, anything from out in nature, like leaves and acorns to paint, to cylinder rolls, which are really toilet paper rolls, cylinder rolls to make puppets, to yogurt cups that we use to make games out of. So for me, the main thing was, what will my students have at home that is easy accessible? And so therefore recycling materials came in handy.
I found something that I was, of course, passionate about, which is video and videography. So the passion would come out, and it wouldn't be too much of a pull for me to learn something new or to figure something out, but it would be something I was passionate about. So being able to share that passion.
And I'll piggyback off of Elaine. Oh, I'm sorry, Penelope, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Mine is the JCPS, the virtual choir, and mine was basically to create a space to keep cultivating music through singing, especially now during COVID, that singing and teaching music has been so hard. So how to create a space for the students to keep creating and to keep making music. So yeah, so that was why, and it has been great so far.
I did something that I knew, like Elaine, I already knew about it. And I also, like Raymond had said, I did it over the summer, and it was pretty successful and a lot of interest. And I know that kids are already on devices, but I did Minecraft and a Minecraft club, and it's still going. And if I'm not there right on time, they're emailing me wanting to know where I am. So I think it's pretty successful. They don't want it to end. But also, I live in Indiana, but then my two children at home have been able to join in on the Minecraft club as well. And so that's kind of what I did, and I've become pretty passionate about it. And I'm having them do reading and writing and math, and they don't even know it. So that makes it better.
I can also go as well. So my club was Introduction to Coding, which, like others, I am very passionate about coding and computer science. But also from the advocacy piece, I wanted to give students the opportunity to learn coding. So if they were able to show up, because we do know that not every school offers coding or offer computer science. So I felt the need to offer that that club, especially to our female students as well.
Yeah, I actually just want to join in on that comment. I think the great thing about the clubs has been, this makes it much more equitable. So no matter what school you are at, you have the opportunity to do these clubs. Like, I know when we've done showcase of schools, we've been like, oh, we offer all of this stuff if you come here, but if you're over there, you can't be part of our thing. And I love the fact that this has allowed for all of the students from any school to participate in any club. And I think that really opens up the playing field for everybody. I'm doing a Lego club and an Among Us club. I am not a gamer, and I had not built any Lego sets since I was probably 10 years old. And I have had so much fun hanging out with the students and just learning from them and getting their feedback, and being able to facilitate that. So for me, this has really brought a lot of enjoyment and light back into my teaching practice during NTI. And I really have enjoyed this time with the students.
And to kind of bounce off him as well, he actually wanted to sponsor a club and promoted it for middle school. And I actually was like, I'm not sure how popular that's going to be, but you're welcome to push it. And he got almost 500 students into that club. So it just goes to show you that, like, not only were our sponsors able to be creative, but also able to open up that bandwidth to kind of reach more kids.
Yeah, so I think we have 6 Among Us clubs. I had to rope in 5 other friends to help split it up, but it's been great.
I'd like to piggyback on that. Oh, I beg your pardon. You go ahead, please.
Okay. How did I develop my club? I actually had 2 clubs. One was Empowered Sports, which just finished up yesterday. Yay. And I know that there's this big push with athletics, but I wanted to also make sure that our scholars had a push for character development, because I wanted them to achieve more in life. So you are more than the sport that you play. So each week we worked on character traits as well as different sports that we participated in. And then my other club, and that was co-ed, so boys and girls. It was definitely inclusive, and I was so happy to see girls show up for athletics. And then my other club was called Royal Girls. Same thing, same concept. It's about character traits, really just developing their character with a focus on goal setting. So I really wanted our scholars to have an opportunity to learn how to create goals. And that was really my purpose behind creating that. So the girl club was so girls could feel empowered to be themselves. And I love, like Victor said, that it was across the district, because they had quality conversation that we may not have ever had if it was limited to just our school.
So I definitely, Nishan, Leslie, and we are the global game changers, and it's a great partnership for so many reasons. It definitely works on building social and emotional learning skills, but it also pairs kids' talents with their passion. So their talents, like maybe they're good at drawing, or maybe they're good at a sport, and then what might be a cause that they're passionate about. It might be social justice, it might be the environment, whatever they're passionate about. They put these things together, and it becomes their superpower, and then they create a project in response. And it's been really great for the kids to see examples of children who have made a difference in the world. And I think that kind of empowering message right now is vital, that your gifts and the things that you care about put together can really make a difference in the world.
All right, thank you guys so much for sharing. Just because of time, we're going to have to move to our next question. How are you virtually creating a club culture with your students and building that culture?
Well, just like any classroom, you create your norms and you go over them, and their expectations are well known. Of course, we have a new thing with virtual expectations of everybody needs to have their mic muted, and how do you show that you are excited and appreciative? We do snaps because you can't hear people clap, but we just do snaps. So just those norms, and making sure that it's a just platform for everybody to get to be involved.
I think also making sure that everybody knows their worth, and encouraging collaboration between the students. That creates a great culture. And in music is so easy because, the power of singing all together, you just lift everybody.
And in my club, I do a lot of student input for the culture side, where we get to decide, okay, since we're using these recycled materials, what's some ideas? What do we have? What can we go with this? So that they have more input on what we will create the next time, or to have that input of what direction it goes, more so as the club culture rather than me saying, we're going to do this, so that they have a piece of it to make the club their own. And it really takes on its own life to develop as each session we have, that I'm not the one kind of leading it anymore, that the club itself has its own growth and environment that leads me.
I love that she said that, which is so true, because that student voice, that student feedback piece is important. The culture that we have in our current club, they were able to tell me, Miss Washburn, can we have something harder? Like, this is too easy for us. So just creating that safe space, creating that vulnerability, that is really huge, especially as we are in a virtual environment.
Okay, go to the next question.
Did you say go to the next question? Okay, so the next one, what backpack artifacts have your students created?
I'm excited about this one because, again, like I said earlier, that students were able to, I was able to incorporate standards, and mine was for 3rd through 5th grade. So I've been able to incorporate many writing and social studies standards for them. And they have learned that, even like, I've assigned them different worlds, and they've been able to write and create videos based on whatever assignment I did on Wednesday. And they've added those in their backpacks. So in Minecraft Education Edition, you're able to use what's called the book and quill, and they can write and take pictures of what they build and incorporate that in their book. And then it downloads as a PDF, or they can do a screen recording of their world and their book while they're explaining it. So I've had both of those.
Right now in choir, we're into creating our own compositions. So we are working on lyric creation and writing, and they're having so creative musically, but also with the lyrics, and like somebody said, creating that safe space for them to be able to, to talk and just put themselves into what their experience with all this virtual online has been for them.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say that that club that you're leading, like she was able to share like a video that they were putting together, I think around winter break, and just seeing like that kind of artifact that was being created like collaboratively, and was just authentic, powerful, and it was really nice to see. So it was really awesome.
I totally agree. Did anyone else want to share?
We created goals for each of the clubs, so they were able to select a personal goal, a professional or school goal, and then just one that was like for leisure or hobby. So the biggest thing was goal setting, and both clubs had the opportunity. We watched videos, we talked about it, and then we have work sessions where we were actually working on and working towards those goals, and they created them on Google Slides. Because around this time of the year, a lot of people are about vision boards and things of that nature. Well, I can't assume my kids have materials to do that, so I said we're going to do a Google slide, and then I asked them at the very end, which backpack artifact would this tie to, or which success skill would this tie to, and they was like, oh, this is me being a prepared and resilient learner, goal setting, going from one point to another. So it was really good to see when they were able to make those connections. Because that means that at their schools, they're having those kind of conversations as well.
And I know we have to go on for time, but also a lot of these individuals who are involved with the summer learning program, they had a lot of agency with their artifacts. So just kind of like building off what you were saying, like they had a lot of choice and voice for kind of what they wanted to do, especially if there was barriers that's got in the way. So it was really nice to see.
All right, thank you. Okay, what are some tips for virtual student engagement? And I think that your all's advice is going to be super important for classroom teachers, not just club teachers at this time.
I think Raymond. Go ahead, Elaine.
I'm just going to say student choice, letting the students get excited and choosing how they're going to show their learning and get them excited through that is very important.
And I think the clubs show that. We had so much participation, 500, 600 people wanting to be in the Among Us. I don't know, Raymond, there were a couple hundred that wanted to do Minecraft, and we couldn't, I still have parents emailing me wanting to do it. So, you know, if they're able to choose how they show what they know, you're going to get them engaged. And for the teachers that are watching, don't be afraid just because you don't know how to game, or like Victor said, you don't know how to do those things or build Legos, or even me, I don't know everything about Minecraft, but trust me, they will teach you.
I
Yes,
think
a
it's
tip
really like,
I would,
oh, I'm
go
so
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
We're already going to it. I was going to say a tip I would give is also if in my case, if a student did not have particular materials or certain ideas of what to do, there was a lot of flexibility. I would always say your mind is as creative as anyone. If you have something you want to do instead during our club, bring it and let's just create together. It was very flexible. It was not rigid in, well, we're working with this material today, or that you need to follow what I have. But if you just have something that's completely different, bring it. Let's work it. Creativity goes aboard everything. And I allowed that in my club, as well as if you kind of are not feeling it today, you get done with yours and you want to go, share and leave early. So they didn't feel like committed to, I've got to sit here this whole time. So I got a lot of flexibility with their time and what they brought with them to do during the club, if it didn't exactly even fit what my club dynamics were.
I love that. Time is so precious for teachers and your students. So true.
So to add to that, student choice was I love the fact that they were able to choose their club, because that hooked them in, and that way, you know, engagement is going to be high because they chose it, right? But then it was also a matter of us deciding that we were going to give them a voice. So with my Royal Girls Club, one of the things that they're doing is they're actually creating the lessons that we're going to be engaging in each week. So they have things that are personal to them that they really want to learn about. One of my scholars has a brother who has a disability, and they really want to learn more about how to engage with, what can I do, what do I, and it felt really good to hear that she wants to learn how to be a better sister to her brother. So we're going to be creating opportunities around just empowering her to learn more. So student voice matters because the curriculum is really within us. We just have to find a way to help them engage. And this is virtual or even when we go back in person.
One more thing that I wanted to add about virtual engagement, I think, is stimulating deeper discussions in between the students and just letting them do the analysis. When we pick the repertoire that we're going to sing, you know, we go through the analysis of the lyrics and they do it on their own. And why, you know, what is the meaning of the song? Why, what's the message? How can this song impact others? So let them take over the discussion.
I was just going to say really quick, I know we're pressed for time, is that having that student choice at the beginning is huge for student engagement as well as that student feedback. For an example, in my club that I sponsor, we had students create an app. They wanted, after we talked, to see what they wanted to do, what their goals were for the purpose of the club. I found different activities that students can do. So when they created the app, when they sent it to their cell phone, like they were shocked, like they were excited because one, they built that app all by themselves, of course, with help, and then they were able to see it in real life on their cell phone. So I think that was key to increase that student engagement as well.
Yeah, I love that real world learning. Student buy-in is huge. Okay, thanks guys for sharing for that one. Okay, it actually kind of leads into, I know what we were just talking about, taking what we're doing with engagement and bringing it back. So how can you take what you've learned teaching these clubs and apply it when we return to in-person classes?
I think that just like we said, the student choice and getting, I'm sorry, their voice. I thought it was snowing outside, and getting their voice. But also we have Harlena in the chat, and she was saying that by, you know, letting the students have more voice and have a cultural relevant conversation with them, which goes into having them getting their voice, is huge. when we return back in person, just like it is now.
I hope these clubs get to continue when we go back in person.
What I would take in the classroom from mine being K2 with recycled materials fits one of our standards about how humans affect their environment. So I would take that back in the classroom to help my kids understand that recycling materials can be more than being reused, but we're going to remake into something new and have them look at the world a little differently and what effect they can have, even in their little 5, 6, 7-year-old lives, the effect on our environment as we interact with our world outside of the classroom, but bring that information inside the classroom so they then can take it home and look at these materials that are normally thrown out or recycled in a new way to benefit the world down the line. This could be that jumpstart at such a young mind that to look at things that are considered trash or no longer usable as renewable and new.
Right. I know. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, listening to everyone, there is that common theme that this is cross-curricular, many content subjects. So even though it is called, like the club part, we still have students learning. We still have students writing, doing the math, doing the social studies and the science. So I can see that this is only benefiting students. And when we go back to school, they will talk about their experiences. They will reflect on the experiences that we had in person.
Yes, that reflection piece is super important. I know that some of us made slides, kind of just share over what their club is. We have about 4 minutes. So if we want to just take a little bit of time to share. So this one was from Penelope.
I think she had to drop off.
Oh, it's okay.
Oh no, she's there. Oh, you're still there.
Sorry, I'm here. Yeah, I didn't know I was muted. Yeah, so basically it's a virtual choir, and the students all they need really is their Chromebook that they already, most of them have in order to make their own recordings. And that's all they need, just their voice and their Chromebook. And we meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5.
Perfect. I'm trying to go to the next one. There we go. And here's Jennifer's.
Hi, I'm Jennifer's teaching partner. She had to go teach a class. My name is Nishan Lasley, and Global Game Changers is just a program that encourages students to look inside themselves and to discover the leader that's in them. My favorite part about it, this is kind of one of their little theme songs. It says, "Believe in the world by believing in you." And I think so many of our students can look and see what's going on and get disheartened and feel like they can't make a difference. But Global Game Changers teaches them how to use their strength. We call that their superpower. Plus their heart, their talent, plus their heart equals their superpower. So what they're passionate about and the things that they do well, how to use that to make a difference in the world. So that's basically Game Changers. We meet on Thursdays from 4 to 5.
Awesome.
So this was our Empowered Sports Co-Ed. We did character and skill building each week for on and off the court, introduced a new character trait each week, like respect, responsibility, sportsmanship, integrity, and ways to develop that. And then we had virtual 1 week, and then we would be face-to-face the following week. So every 2 weeks they had the opportunity to come together to play together, but the requirement was having their own equipment, wearing a mask, and of course I sprayed everything down with Lysol. So it was a fun opportunity for them to discuss goals, like I shared earlier. Excuse me, I got something in my throat. Like I shared earlier, and then also to be able to provide movement opportunity with each other. And then I built a site that allowed them to go back to all of those videos and be able to just see those videos over again, practice those skills over again, and then also to look at those character traits as well if they wanted to continue learning.
Are you there, Victor?
Yeah, I'm here. So I did an Among Us club and a Lego club. And the Among Us club, it was just a chance for kids to get together. Among Us, you have a limit of 10 in a game. So we would use the breakout rooms in Google Meets, and the kids could have a chance to just play Among Us. And it's so much more fun when you're on video and you're seeing who you're playing against and like the people. And it's a lot of fun because students will come up with variations on the game and different rules. And so it's always neat to see like what alternative games we come up with to keep it fresh. And then the Lego Club, it's for grades 3 through 5, and that has been a ton of fun. We have a weekly building challenge. So like last week, it was micro builds. So you could only you had to use between 20 and 29 pieces to complete your building challenge. And then we'll start the club off showing what we built from last week. Then we have a weekly Lego quiz using Kahoot. And then we introduce some kind of new building challenge. And so one of our building challenges was we built little webcam buddies. So we could clip those onto our webcams and like have our little favorite character hang out with us during our meets.
That's so cute. All right, I know we're at 101 actually. But can we go through these really quick so everyone can share?
Really, really quick.
Okay, I don't think Carlina is here.
So this was my other club, which was all girls. It's about establishing self-worth to fit my crown. Very similar to the empowered sports, but it was just the girl version. It was us getting together, setting our goals. Girl talk was one of the biggest things that they really wanted to be able to have. They're like, can we just talk at the end? I was like, oh, okay. So they had that social opportunity. I had no idea that it was something that they would have wanted to do. So it was just really just trying to empower them to be their absolute best self as girls so they can go back and rock out this world.
Perfect. And then Elaine had to drop off, but this was her filmmaking club.
Yeah, that's just Cody Mania, but it's in the slideshow. So we can move on to the next slide for time purposes.
All right, so that's Create, Craft, Crinkle. And this is a gallery creations from my students. They, in Google Classroom, were able to upload what they made, and there was tons more, but this is what I could squeeze on the slide. So you can kind of see it varies from everything from leaves to acorns, from items from nature to cylinder rolls and water bottles, milk jugs, and the like. So lots and lots of creations there.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Thanks for organizing, Becca.
Absolutely. Thank you all. And I'm going to shoo you guys on out of here because we've
bye
got
now.
some folks up that want to talk about a book, The Perfect
bye-bye.
Blend. And I apologize. We had such good information coming from our clubs. I'm Jim Unger with JCPS Digital Innovation. This is the Digital Learning Channel. And who's going to be presenting today for the first chapters?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Tara Isaacs, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you Miss Sarah Reed and also Dr. Amanda Santos. These are two district leaders that we have here today who joined a district-wide book study that we had in the Professional Development and Learning Department. And they are going to kick off just a quick review of chapters 1 and 2. And the premise behind the work is, with all the instruction right now taking place virtually, we know that there are going to be some shifts to in-person models again, and then there also will be some blended approaches. So we connected with Heather Worrell in your department and said, we'd like to do some study on this too, and making sure that what we looked at didn't contradict or go against anything that we're working towards as a vision for this district. And so what they'd like to do is hopefully whet the appetite of someone who's thinking about pursuing this, serve as a contact if people want to reach out and ask more questions to these people that are presenting today, And then third, we hope that other people will tackle the book study and then share their learning. As we know, the digital learning space and social media is a way that we're learning from each other. So we appreciate you having us on here today and hosting. And I'm going to turn it over to these two experts.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Isaacs. Okay, I'm going to share the screen here and start off with our presentation right here. Welcome to chapter 1 through 4 in 30 minutes, the perfect blend. I know, always the challenge by Dr. Isaacs, but we're going to take it on here. I'm Sarah Reed. I'm the academic instructional coach at Coleridge Taylor Montessori. There's my Twitter handle. Please follow me. I'll tweet your things out, KYToy15. And Dr. Santos, do you want to introduce yourself or do you want me to do that?
Yeah, I am the AIC over at Carrick Elementary. So anything I need tweeted out, I'll send to Sarah.
Okay.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah, I just love shouting out JCPS teachers and all the great work we're doing. Okay, gonna jump in here. Yes.
Can I get you to go ahead and hit present on your slides and make them nice and big for our audience?
Okay, let me see if I can do that. Okay, present. Oh, I see over here. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. That's absolutely perfect. Thank you.
I always get the jitters somehow when I'm presenting, in person or virtual. So here we are, blended learning. We did not know that we would get there, but I'm so glad that we did because it's really a mixture of traditional, online, and that face-to-face learning. So ways to blend the classroom, we have that online learning that, and then we have that brick and mortar, and we're just going to blend those two. Especially many of us are going in and getting our COVID shots, and we're just kind of hoping to get back to that brick and mortar world. But we know that our students have those one-on-one devices, so we want to really maximize and kind of change our educational context and always be forward thinking. Okay, moving on. So that brick and mortar online learning, there's different models in which to work. Your traditional is that blue, and then it's blending in with that green over there. So there's different models: rotation, flex model, self-blended model, and that enrichment virtual model. Lots of models that you can look into. Okay. And let's just go a little bit deeper right here. That station rotation model, in that brick and mortar, that was that guided reading table, and you would have a little station here and a little station there. You can still do that station rotation model, very easily do that one. Another one is called the lab rotation. This is really kind of interesting because you're using that computer classroom as really that online, and they're like actually moving from room to room. So it's by determined schedule. A paraprofessional is in the lab while the teacher is in the classroom. So you can have smaller groupings. But again, that's something that's very familiar in a lot of our classrooms. There's individual rotation. Students don't move with a set group of peers, but each student has a personalized schedule, right? So students move to stations on a set schedule. They may not go to all stations. It requires lots of planning, but the author of this book has actual plans that are in place, and some models and Blackline Masters that you can use to make this model fit. Okay, the next one is I'm going to go back here, the flipped classroom. The flipped classroom, the teacher moves basic instruction online in a crafted assignment, and they present when the student is learning at home. And that's kind of what we're doing right now, is that flipped classroom. A la carte, that's really fun. The school or district offers individual courses online to supplement a student's course schedule at a brick and mortar. And JCPS eSchool, the folks there are doing that right now with middle and high school. Nice program, but we could do that program easily with elementary. Another one is the flex model. It has really fluid schedules according to the student needs. Classrooms look like coffee shops. If you go to some of the schools, I know we had the Backpack League in the summer, and you would walk in the hall and kids would be on their computers and in these little crunchy, nice little beanbag chairs. So that was like the flex model that was occurring. And I'm sure that will occur in our brick and mortar as well. So, gotta click on Nemo here. The author here, she's got a personal story. She shares about fake engagement. The compliance she saw was really fake engagement, and she really wanted to do something different. So she brought that computer into the classroom. She created a digital space, and the quality of her students' work really skyrocketed because it gave students an audience, and the work that they did on that computer in that online world really mattered. So designing that perfect blend, it's not all about tech, software, online lessons. Tech can have an impact, but the largest impact that we can really shift towards is our instructional practices. And I think that we've made a big shift in Jefferson County, and we're just going to shift even more to really kind of bring all these models together. Okay, going back here. Sorry about that. There's the enriched virtual model. This really allows for online to be the primary vehicle for instruction, allows students to completely work outside the brick and mortar. And that's kind of what we're doing right now, enriched virtual model. We're back at a la carte. Sorry, here. Flex model, flipped. Okay, going this way. Sorry about that. There's some research that she provides for us, and this presentation will be shared. The blended learning classroom, the Clayton Christian Institute, and the Learning Accelerator. And these are really good case studies to go into, especially if you're a school that's going to like drive your instruction and really look at those models deeper. That gives you some insight of how those schools kind of tackled issues and overcame them, and what they did that was so nice for their students. Okay, and chapter 2 is about designing with student agency in mind. Really, really important. Student agency, present when learning is meaningful and relevant and really driven by your students' personal interests. That blended learning creates that environment that allows students to be really autonomous in their learning and personalized. So there's a difference between personalization and differentiation. Personalization, students are making adjustments and changes in learning activity to help them be successful. Differentiation, the teacher is making those adjustments and changes to help students be successful. So moving this way, sorry about that. Voice and choice. And choice is really important. Choice in how they learn that content, choice in how they're assessed over the content. Choice in that learning material is important, and choice in the assessment, giving students really options for tools that they use in assessments, and giving them a chance. This is my big one, giving them a chance for retaking the assessment in a different method. The caveat that she has here is don't give too many choices. This actually prevents us from making a choice. That's kind of like me at a Golden Corral. I have a hard time making a choice in that context. Voice, again, students should have an input in the classroom and their learning. They're empowered to shape their learning. Entrance ticket gives them a lot of voice. Ask them what they want to do. Students will need scaffolding and just taking in what they would like to see their environment to be. Another thing that's really important is the pace, the path, the time, and the place. It can change from semester to semester, day to day, even a lesson. Tech is really the vehicle for personalized learning that really allows our students to take control of their learning. Okay, I'm going this way. Blended learning can give students that more flexibility. It keeps our gaps at bay. This is a nice example that she also gives is California Lindsay High School gave students agency over the pace at which they move through their learning. And this is my favorite one, playlist down below here, which she'll go into more depth with through the chapters. Path is another important. And time and place, students gain control over time and place of learning. Online, students aren't bound by those classroom walls, and teacher can really remove themselves as a sole agent of knowledge. It's not really direct instruction. You can have students kind of work in those breakout rooms or work on activities and then come back and share out. It's really driven by their voice and choice. Right here, engagement is really important. If you're a school that's kind of working with engagement, how to get students engaged in that online context, this student engagement toolkit that is provided is a really nice resource. And Chris Young, if you've never heard him talk about engagement and curiosity, I would encourage you to listen to him as well. That student data and self-reflection is also important. We always make that data decision making. It really keeps a pulse on our students' engagement, performance on those digital tasks, and so forth. Okay, and then we're at learner profiles. It's really important, just like when we're in the classroom, to also have, a checklist and descriptors to help students really identify their strengths, needs, and interests. Students can write summaries of what they learned about themselves. It's important to start small. Students don't need control over everything. You might need to help students when they're ready. And of course, you're going to have to repeat yourself. But there's a link up here that will give you some nice examples of learner profiles.
And Sarah, will you keep driving for me since you have it up?
I
You're
will.
doing a phenomenal job.
Okay.
So
we have 30 minutes and I could talk forever.
I could too. But if you'll keep driving the PowerPoint, it'll help me and we can.
Yeah, I would encourage you to download the presentations that we have and click on those links to just dive even deeper. Okay, Dr. Santos.
All right. I am so glad that I get to pair up with Sarah. Like, I feel honored seriously. So this is awesome. All right, Sarah, go to the next one for me. So I'm doing chapters 3 and 4. So chapter 3 really talks about differentiation in the blended classroom. So it gives you the basic characteristics of the station rotation model, including variations, which as Sarah went through, the overview of basically the book itself, these next 2 chapters kind of dig into specifics, including templates and tools necessary. All right, so we talked about the basics, which we see this in the classroom quite a bit. So it's a great entry point for blending your classroom, for differentiating, and increases the teacher's ability to implement student voice and choice into lessons.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay.
All right. Oh, they start flipping in.
Yeah, click 3 times for me. So basically organizing your stations. So when you're thinking about the classroom, there's 3 things to consider. Choosing the number of stations. So thinking about the task to complete and how long you want that the students to have, as well as the timing of each station, how the class is going to move, determined by the teacher, and providing meaningful small group instruction is really important during this time. And then setting up your groups, so individualizing activities based on group differentiation. Sometimes you'll see the same learning activity at each station, flexible grouping, and students also need opportunities to reflect. That's really, really important as we're talking about, the classroom in general. You can click next, Sarah. Thanks. I should have took out these transitions. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm getting the hang of it though.
I'm sorry.
I know now to roll my mouse. It's just a click. Okay.
I appreciate you. Okay, so we have student pay stations. So no timer needed between movement. Students can rotate upon completion of their work at their current station. This also requires clear expectations, especially when we're having the students pace themselves, and continue collaboration opportunities for them. There's also the one station per day, so that's more focused on a particular station. You can have 3 stations set up, and they move to a different one for 3 days. This allows teachers to create small group instruction by pulling from those stations, and then you can also have varied stations each day. Which sometimes we see that a lot in classrooms. So it's based on different content areas. And the number of stations can also vary as well, along with the role of the teacher per station. Next. I feel like I'm like talking really, really fast. Okay, so the part of this book also provides a lot of templates, which is awesome. So in this presentation, you're going to see a lot of bit.lys. And these bit.lys actually give you access to the templates and you can use. So this is an example of planning for a station rotation lesson. So you consider these things, online versus offline, collaborative versus independent work. Do you want it to be active or stationary? Really important to provide clear directions at every single station. Whether it's text-based, online, or recorded directions for those students. And always include collaboration and interaction. Next. All right, so this is straight from the book. So these are just station ideas, and you can look at those at your leisure, but there's tons of different activities that you can think of for stations inside the book. Next. All right, so chapter 4 is talking about implementing personalized learning in your blended classroom. So it's going to review the differences between personalization and differentiation. This is where we're going to explore the flex model, and I'll also give you templates for it. And then considering how a hybrid approach between station and flex models might work best in some classrooms. All right, so blended learning and personalized learning. Blended learning allows personalization to occur. Okay, so how? We talked about the station rotation model, so great for differentiation and individualized instruction. Now we're going to look at the flex model. So some examples of tools, you use checklists, choice boards, playlists. So the thing is we've seen this already a lot with NTI. Lots of checklists, lots of choice boards. And so within this next chapter, there's just different templates and tools that you can use. So some people are already using some, but this might give you a little bit of a variation on how to use them. So you want to consider student choice and voice, timing and pacing, content, or are you going to include a little bit of both? Checklist gives the teacher the most control. It's a list of activities, things that we see typically, and it also includes must-dos and can-dos. Click, 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 thanks.
I got the pattern down. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so good. Okay, so we have the daily checklist, a weekly checklist, and then other checklists that they provide inside of the book include like the shuffle, which resembles a music playlist. Students are so savvy. They're used to music playlists and just scrolling and being able to, so that may be something that is relatable for them that they'll want to use. And then we have a simple checklist and then the calendar. So these can be paper form or digital form, but they have to also include those must-dos and can-dos. Just like when we were talking about when Sarah said, I don't like to go to Golden Corral because there's too many choices. You know, sometimes you do have to narrow down things for kids so that they can focus and pick what they want to do. And all the bit.lys are on the bottom as well. So these are the pictures of what you can see inside the book that provides the template. So we have here the daily one, the weekly one, and the shuffle one.
Which looks like that iPod shuffle.
Yes, iPod shuffle. Yep. All right, so then we want to talk about playlists. So it can include a combination of whole group learning, face-to-face opportunities, online, individual, collab and small group learning. But the single document will have hyperlinks for all the resources the students need in order to complete those content areas or those options that they have.
Playlists are probably my favorite, and I think there was a presentation not too recently on playlists on the digital learning channel. Playlists are awesome.
So types of playlists that they provide in the book, you have the depth of knowledge, the DOK level playlist. So in this one, the students have to accumulate a certain number of points, and the higher the DOK, the higher the point. There's also the table playlist, which is a simple Google Doc, which we are using that a lot lately. So that might be very simple for online learning right now. And then we have secondary school playlist. And I think click one more time. I think I may have thrown you off on this one, Sarah. One more click. There we go. Had to add one more. So we have the digital menu that resembles like a when you're going to a restaurant. Okay, so you have a appetizer, entree, and beverage, and again, all the bit.lys with the hyperlinks there are for anyone to use.
Yeah, really nice. I love the doc one because it has those doc levels. And if you're trying to get to a higher rigor, you know, in your PLCs, if you're an academic coach and you're working with teachers or even working with new teachers, you know, you want to have doc 1 or depth of knowledge 1 activities, doc 2 and doc 3. So it really allows you to kind of see the flow of a lesson, you know, or a unit. It's really empowering. And here we are.
Yeah. So here's the template from the book or an example. So Sarah pretty much described it for you too. It's laid out really easy to read, and I think that that's one thing about this book that I really like is the simplicity of the templates to use. That anyone can pick it up and dig into how it explains to use it, and then go use it. Which that's what I am a big advocate for. Like if you're going to provide something, then make it user-friendly. And this book seems very user-friendly. You can go to the next one.
Yeah, and these rows you could add more or take away too.
Yeah.
It's really versatile.
Here's a couple other playlists. You notice as we get to the secondary one, it becomes more in depth. So as you get into, middle and high, those are going to be more in depth for those students. And the hyperlinks you see in blue, that's really important, especially for those middle and high school students to have access to the resources to do these assignments or choice boards. And here's our digital menu playlist. Love this, students sit down, they can pick their entree, their appetizer, their beverage, and they feel like they're at the cafe and they're choosing, so they really enjoy seeing this as the digital menu for going to sit and eat. And so they like to be able to pick from each section. And that's the key, is they have to pick from each section. So they pick their entree, their appetizer, their sides, and those type of things. And again, the teachers have to also provide those links in there to help them access those. And choice boards, we have seen choice boards, especially during NTI, grids, tic-tac-toe boards, bingo boards, that type of thing. For the sake of time, I think everyone kind of knows what a choice board is. If you can flip down to the 4 C's choice board. So it's communication, collaboration, and creativity, and critical thinking. And when we hear those words, we think backpack. So if you'll click next, Sarah, it shows an example of what that 4 C's choice board looks like, very in depth. Underneath the 4 C's choice board, there's also a Google Doc linked in there for access. And the next slide will show the tic-tac-toe board and the DOK choice board.
And
I like the middle
DOK one.
I do too. And I like the fact that, the middle square has to be completed. That, that's something that students know. They have to do the middle square. And as we said in the DOK, the higher the level, the higher the points.
Yeah, this really plays into the unit planning that teachers are doing.
Exactly. So, when you're looking at being creative and flexible and also offering choice, if we want to combine the rotation model and the flex model, here's an example that they gave in the book. So like for Monday, you could do whole group instruction, Tuesday and Wednesday station rotation, and Thursday and Friday flex model. Sometimes that's nice to see an example of how you would play it out in your classroom, because we can get overwhelmed of how to plan it. So that's just an example that she gave on how to structure the classroom for those two different models. And I like how she says options are endless, and remember, you are the architect of your classroom. And I finished in 14 minutes. That's impressive.
I think we have a minute to spare. So, you may want to think about the reflection questions at the end. Do you have misconceptions about student agency or that personalized learning? What aspects of your classroom instruction are truly personalized, especially when you go into brick and mortar, to be really reflective about that? What areas would you like to give students more agency? Having had this computer at home, this one-to-one device, and then bringing it back into the brick and mortar. But some of our students are going to be, if we were a snow day, right? So, and then you were always thinking about the current group of the students, makes sense through that day or even a semester. And where can you give students that control, that pace, path, time, or place of learning?
I just want to jump in here and just give a shout out to Sarah and Amanda. This is an example of leadership in our district that are not waiting for things to happen. They are actually taking the initiative to study what's out there so that they can be at the table to help drive this work forward as we transition back into in-person or even blended models now. So I just want to give a shout out to Amanda and Sarah. I think that's a record for 30 minutes to go over 4 chapters of very meaty content. Thank you very much to the IT3 team for having us here today. And we just appreciate you allowing the District Book Club to be able to share some takeaways for some very important content for people who may not have the time to read that book right now.
Thank you, Dr. Isaacs, for giving us the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being here. That's great. The blended learning, I loved it. It's very similar to the book we had studied, or the couple books we've studied on our team as well. I'd love seeing that student agency, the different rotation models. It's excellent. And moving right along, you guys really did crush that in there. I have 1:31 on the clock. I am Jim Unger with JCPS Digital Innovation, and that is leading us into our 1:30 presentation on Nearpod with the amazing Matt Bulka, amazing Danielle Washburn, and our Nearpod friend. And I do believe I see, well, at least I see our Nearpod friend here. I don't know about the other two.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing? How do you say your name?
I'm Oliver.
Oliver. Okay.
How's it going, guys? Doing pretty good today?
I'm doing good. Who do we have over here?
I see.
Somebody snuck in. Who is this? You are muted, dear.
Cassandra Smith.
Hello, Cassandra. Are you with the Nearpod team?
No, I'm with the PD department.
Oh, okay. Were you sharing anything, or are you just kind of hanging out?
I'm hanging out. I'm trying to learn more.
Oh, okay. Super. All right. Oliver, I guess it's all you then, sir.
All righty. Let me go ahead and take away. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to take you guys to a Nearpod lesson. If I can, Sandra, if you don't mind joining in as a student, that'll be really helpful. You can go ahead and use this code right here. So you're going to go to join.nearpod.com, and it's going to prompt you to type in a code to join the lesson. And that code is going to be MBR6E. And I'll give anybody a little bit of time to join in. It's always better if we have some live students in. And we'll get started once I got somebody in here. And the cool thing about joining in with the code is it makes it really easy for students to be able to access lessons. I can send this code out through email. I can send it through social media, a link through Google Classroom. There's several different ways that I can get this code out. And if I wanted to make this a Zoom meeting on the fly, I can also do so by just clicking this button. So some easy kind of ways that you guys can get the code out to your students. A few more seconds here. Again, that code is MDR6E. I'm actually going to join myself. Second.
I'm trying to get you some friends on here too. I'm putting a little shout out on our team line.
All right, perfect. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Am I signed in? Does it show that I am or no?
Yes. Oh, well, that could be me. Let me see. Oh, no, that's me. It should, after you click join a lesson, it should prompt you to type in a name to join in. And once you put that name.
Okay, I think it's got me on here. I don't see up there. It's not showing. I'm looking at your screen. Student list. What I'm seeing now is Nearpod, but I don't see where it says join in. It's got open whiteboard, add activity.
No, so that's going to be on my screen. If you get out of my screen and go to nearpod.com, it'll have a button, a place for you to join a lesson. So you want to get off the Zoom, or I mean the Google Meet screen that you're on now, and then access a different window. You're going to go to nearpod.com, and where it says to join a lesson, that's when you're put in that code. So as we are kind of getting acclimated, I'm going to give you guys a few hints on some things that you can use here as a teacher. So if you're looking at my screen, you're going to see we have, again, that code always at the top left. At the bottom left, I'm going to have my student list. And you're going to see some green lights by that name. If for whatever reason I maybe log off or go to another screen, you're going to see that that light will then go from green to red. So that's always a good way for you as a teacher to kind of just keep an eye on who's actively participating in the lesson and who might need a nudge. I have my scrubber here where I can kind of move around across the lesson if I need to. And then I can hide student names on the bottom right. And then lastly, I can actually choose to draw on this actual slide if I need to at any point by clicking that button over here to the right. I can open up a whiteboard and draw on a blank screen if I'd like. Can add activities on the fly like web content, open-ended questions, a draw it, an actual slide, or true or false, all on the fly over here on my top right. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So with all of that in mind, we're just gonna take a little bit of a look at what Nearpod 101 looks like today, and we're gonna do so with starting with what is Nearpod, right? So basically with Nearpod, what you have is a resource bank of over 9,000 lessons that are ready to teach and align to state standards. And you guys can have access to all of those lessons. But if, like I'm sure most of you teachers already have a lot of lessons that are saved into Google Slides, you can start with those, right? So you don't necessarily have to, we're not looking to take away the teacher autonomy away from, lesson planning, but maybe I'm taking a lesson that I have on, health, and I know it's a really good lesson, but just Nearpodizing, right? Adding in maybe a virtual reality or a collaborate board and adding in some engaging activities. And, that's also a really good way to start with Nearpod as well. Something that's been really helpful with Nearpod is this is something that can flex between physical classroom, distance learning, hybrid, right? So when we think about just what has happened in the course of this last year and how we kind of were all kind of going through normal, and then it was completely just distance learning, and now we're moving into this hybrid stage, and hopefully at one point we get back to just being in the physical classroom. This is a resource and a solution that's going to be able to fit all of those different modalities and seamlessly as well. So I think that's something that makes it, something that should be here to stay for, a lot of folks who are using Nearpod. Now, I made a sample lesson so that you guys can see what a lesson looks, feels like, and I did it on our solar system. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a collaborate board. It's just asking, what do you guys already know about the solar system? I can easily approve posts before they come in or choose not to and apply that for the rest of the lesson. I'm going to go ahead and click no today. And for any of my people who are in the lesson, go ahead and let me know anything that you know about the solar system. Any questions, thoughts, comments, go ahead and put it in. Go ahead and put in where is Saturn. I'm gonna actually add in a thing. Boom. So what I love about the collaborate board, Jupiter has 21 moons. Wow, I didn't know that. What I love about the collaborate board is I think it's super low stakes, right? There's no right or wrong answer here. It's not like, if you put a wrong answer here, someone here just put Jupiter has 21 moons. If it's wrong, it's wrong, but it also may be a good discussion point, right? We may now start to talk about planets and their moons, and sometimes that's what happens with these collaborative boards. So I like it because I think it's really good for just kind of crowdsourcing information. So and just learning, prior knowledge, right? Like where are my students? What do they know about the solar system? So I love to kind of start my lessons off with this. Thank you guys for those who shared. Now, after we kind of get in tune with, what we're learning about today, maybe start with the collaborative board, I may look to do a virtual reality, right? Really immerse my students into what Nearpod or what the concept looks and feels like. So here I'm on Mars, and I kind of VR. For those of you who are in the lesson and have a device, you can actually, if you have like a mobile device, you can pick it up and move it around, and the accelerator will move with you. If not, you can just enter the VR goggles on your screen and move around. If you look up, it'll give you the sky. If you look down, it'll give you the dirt. But this is where I may ask, I know we spoke about Jupiter's 21 moons. Are we seeing that? Does anyone see Saturn? Somebody put a picture of the solar. Do we see any other planets? Like really kind of tagging along on what we just experience and kind of bring it into that virtual space. So here is an open-ended question. With this open-ended question, I can do everything from a Google Translate in this top left where I have reference media. I can put a actual website, audio submission of myself as a teacher, a picture, a video, whatever I want, MP3, I can put in this reference media. But just asking here, what is closer to the Earth, the sun or the moon? And even as a student, you could do audio submissions as well. So I think that's really helpful with students who are maybe struggling with the English language, or if you just want to hear some students, right? I know a lot of times folks use the audio just to be able to kind of get that sense of like, hey, we're here without having a million people screaming at you on a Google Meets or Zoom call. Students can actually just do audio submissions. And then also as a teacher, I can actually share out a specific response, and we can elaborate a little bit more, and it's going to go out to all of your devices where you guys can see it as well. So those are some of those real-time pieces that I think are important with Nearpod, right? where maybe if we're in a classroom or just in regular instruction might get missed, where here we can really have some of those moments where, I'm doing my checks for understanding. I'm either championing a student and showing what a really good answer, solid answer might look like. Or, maybe I'm using a wrong answer and we're using that to say like, hey, what's wrong with this answer? What do you guys think could have been improved? Things like that. So I think it's a really good way. And the whole time I'm keeping it anonymous as well. So now I have a short quiz. Don't worry about getting any of these answers correct. Just kind of run through it for the folks who are in here. Just want you guys to experience what a quiz looks like for your students. But as you're going through, I'm going to show kind of how we can use the real-time data to our advantage. So if you are in, go ahead and just play the lottery. Don't be afraid to get any of these answers wrong. All right, so we got some folks who are putting in some questions now. You're gonna see my bar will move as students are submitting answers. This is also a really good time to maybe show student names, right? So, a lot of times I wouldn't necessarily have my student names up, but if I am presenting my screen, this may be a good time for me to say, all right, hey, it looks like we all got number 1 correct, right? Which is great. But I saw a little bit of a struggle with number 2 and 3. And this is where we can start to, again, use that real-time data to our advantage. And I can maybe switch to my student view here. And we can have an honest conversation around like, hey, what was going on with number 2, right? Like, why was there, a little bit of a struggle here? I've seen a lot of folks click D and A when the correct answer was whatever. We may even take a look at the reference and media and go back to, that Mars overview and really just have those conversations that, again, I think get missed a lot when we're in regular instruction. So these are some of those tools that I think really kind of help Nearpod stand out that I think, is really at the end, of course, the student benefits the most. Another thing that we can do here is share out your live results, individual results. So on your guys' screen as students, you're gonna see exactly how you performed on a quiz right after you did it, right? This was a short 3-question quiz, but this could have been a 10-question quiz that, wrapped up everything we learned today. If there was, of course, a little bit of a meatier lesson. And I think that's, again, helpful because a lot of times I'm sure you guys know we're grading at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and not getting students back their grades on quizzes until maybe the next day. Sometimes we're just not getting the quiz grades back. So this makes it really easy to get that to your students. And then even if I wanted to add an activity on the fly, right? So maybe I'm seeing that, I don't know if folks are just not understanding number 2, but there was definitely a little bit of a drop in communication. I can do something like, I don't know, Mars rovers are robots, and put true and send that out. And on the fly, you guys are going to get that true or false question. And you're going to be able to kind of just give me a sense of confirmation that you guys are understanding, you're following me, or maybe we know where everyone's getting it wrong. And I know that I need to continue to kind of maybe go back into the lesson, go deeper into the reference media, whatever it is that's going to help kind of move this forward, I can do so. But I love having those on the fly activities on like the tip of my fingers. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out on that activity and move forward. So after we're out of that activity, I can go ahead and just kind of wrap up here, right? So this is a really engaging tool that I love. Basically what this is a game-like kind of application that allows teachers to be able to have their students play as soon as you get an answer correct, it's going to first prompt you to choose a character. So you want to go ahead and choose any character that you like. And as you get answers correct, you guys are going up a hill to that flag. If you get an answer right, and the speed that you get the answer right is what's going to help you move along that hill a little bit faster than your colleagues and the other students in the class. And it's just a fun way, I think, to either wrap up lessons, maybe start a lesson. So I'll show you guys a little bit of what it looks like. I'm not sure if anybody else is going to join in on this. I'll give it a couple more seconds. All right, cool. We got Matt in. I'll go ahead and start with us. And I always just think that's a fun way to kind of, you know, bring some excitement to the content you guys are learning about. Of course, that was a lot more straightforward than what might be in a real time decline, but definitely a cool way to maybe end a lesson. So that's like a short little mini lesson that I created for you guys. I'm gonna go ahead. I know we actually have Cassandra on. I don't know, Cassandra, did you have any questions around some of the things that you just saw? Any comments from anyone? Just want to make sure I'm leaving the floor open for all of us.
I'm not seeing any comments right now in the chat, Oliver. Cassandra dropped out. We have Matt and Danielle with you in the Hangout, though.
Okay, sounds good. Cool. So I will now tab out of my Nearpod, and I will show you guys a little bit of what the lesson library looks like. So as you can see here, this is kind of your Netflix, if you will, of all the different lessons that you guys can choose from. If I'm a teacher in Kentucky and I am looking at a math lesson for the 4th grade, I can easily kind of look at some different lessons here. All of these are ready to teach and align to state standards. I can also look at specific strand if I want to, and actually find, you know, understanding addition and subtraction of fractions. And I can also edit this lesson too, right? So if I have my own lesson, like I said, but maybe I want to pull some stuff from another lesson, I can kind of add and subtract and put into, you know, what would make a whole lesson from a little bit of Nearpod and a little bit of my own lesson. You guys also will have access to interactive videos as well. So if I'm looking for interactive math video, I can go ahead and look at this lesson here. And this is going to give me all of the videos that we already have made for you guys. What these videos are really kind of like more bite-sized lessons to kind of put out there. Really helpful for asynchronous learning. I think you could use videos from YouTube, your own at-home videos from our library, and add in some formative assessment like multiple choice questions, open-ended questions, quizzes, and you're going to be able to kind of see how your students are doing throughout. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a preview of what one might look like.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah. If 7 guys walked down the street and picked up trash, 9 pieces each, how much trash would be up off the street? That's 7 times 9, and that's 63. Cause
if 7 kids wanted to have fun and bought 3 toys for each and every one, how many toys would that be? A ton? Well, 7 times 3 is 21. Cause
7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Right. 7 times 3 is 21. It's like I'm crouched down and I'm ready to run. Because
7 name of the numbers on these tables, like 14, 21, and all the rest. Those numbers are multiples of 7, you bet. So when you multiply 7, that's what you get.
Here we go. 7 times 6 is.
And then here you're gonna have your student able to respond to something like this, the multiple choice question. So just wanted to give you guys a little glimpse of what that might look like. That's actually in partnership with our vocabulary videos. And then we can easily create our lessons here from either Nearpod. I can create them in Google Slides with our Google add-on, or create my videos right here. As you guys can see, we have some folders here that are formulated from either our school or district library. These are going to be your own curated resources that you guys can tap into. And then from just looking at my library, I can also access reports from individual lessons, export them as PDFs, duplicate, or I can actually just look at my own reporting on, how my post-session reports have gone. So the one that we just were in, where we had Cassandra, Danielle, some other folks as well, I can see how they did on the quiz, opening the question, overall engagement. And I can save this as a PDF for the class, per the student, or even share this out to anybody who this might be helpful to. So that is kind of my Nearpod spiel. I don't know if you guys have any comments, but yeah, it's a little bit of what Nearpod is for you guys, and hope you guys learned something from this little Nearpod 101.
Yeah, Oliver, I really, I think if you're still just doing slides or PowerPoint, you're kind of falling behind at where we're at now, because we've been doing this so long. We have a lot of different tools at our disposal. We've got 3 similar tools like this for really upping that slide game. Personally, I like Nearpod. Just the great features, the library of lessons, like digital citizenship. It's got multiple lessons that are already pre-built. Those are great. Anything to make my life easier as a teacher, I am about.
Yep, definitely. And I think one of the big stresses that I love to emphasize is that all of the resources that teachers love to use can be integrated within Nearpod, right? So, that student engagement piece is really important, especially as we're in this hybrid model. And being able to add in, your Kahoots, your web pages, your YouTube stuff, all in one seamless learning experience, I think makes the world of difference for a student. So that I'm not, going to one page, another page. Now I'm on Facebook. Now I'm on Instagram, right? I'm locked in. I'm engaged. I'm in this the lesson. So I think that's super helpful too.
Absolutely. Danielle, Matt, you any thoughts over there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, each and every time you are with us, Oliver, you always share something extra, which is exciting, because that just goes to show that there are so many useful tools in Nearpod, and it is a great feature for everyone.
Definitely. Well, that's all I have. So if not, I'll give you guys a little bit of time back. But thank you guys for inviting me. I love this series. I'm happy to be a part of it. And hope you guys have a good day.
That's awesome. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you for presenting on Nearpod. All right, Danielle and Matt, thank you for joining us and participating in that learning fun. All right, so I'm Jim Unger with JCPS Digital Innovation. You are at the JCPS Digital Learning Channel. And we're covering a lot of great information today. Nearpod, we've talked about the book, The Perfect Blend, which we have another chapter coming up, another 4 chapters coming up, chapters 5 through 8, with Michelle Shorey and Miss Nicole Travis. All right, some great friends there. After that, we'll be taking another intermission break and looking at Girls Who Game, a girls' esports type team that can be hosted at elementary and middle schools, and we have Lassiter Middle School presenting that today. And then we will finally pick up at 3 o'clock with The Perfect Blend, final chapters 9 through 11. So these great pieces, and we got to already see virtual clubs today at 12:30. and we just got done with Nearpod. And I will let you know that this will be posted, because we always get the question, can I watch this later? Absolutely, come back later. All of these will be posted to the JCPS Digital Learning channel. And we'll also then, after that, over the next couple days, break all of these up into individual bite-sized pieces so that you have 20 to 30-minute episodes to see all of these great things. And they'll be still on the JCPS Digital Learning channel. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and click that button that says subscribe, so do you know when we have all these great updates. All right. I have 159. Hey, Dr. Isaacs is joining us back again. Great to see you.
Hey, great to be here. I just want to jump in here and say to the IT3 team, we appreciate so much the invitation to come on board and share some information that we're doing to grow as learners. As I said with the 1 o'clock group, we are looking, we had a district book study over the last couple months, and it pulled from leadership across this district, from departments, from schools, and just people that are instrumental in making a difference in their roles in the district. So we are here right now to talk about a book. It's on blended learning. And it's a little different than what Heather Worrell and her team are studying, but it does support and complement that work. And our hopes today were to hopefully, one, inform people about some different things to consider as we're transitioning from virtual settings back to in-person. And we know that things will be different, as we'll probably be more receptive to blended learning models because it is working for just new instructional approaches. This particular segment is focused on chapters, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8. And we have Michelle Shorey here from, she's with the ELL department. And then we also have Nicole, and I am blanking on Nicole's last name, but she is, I believe, an assistant principal in our district.
Travis.
And so you can kind of get a feel for the leadership mixture that we've had with the first two groups. Sorry, Nicole, Travis, I've totally blanked. It's the pressure of being online, I think. But I just, I want to encourage people to don't sit back and wait for learning to come to you. Jump into the deep end and make sure you have people with life preservers around you to help you with that discovery process of just new learning. And with the water theme in mind right now, just remember that jumping in has a ripple effect. And it's important that you not be afraid to try new things. And I absolutely am humbled to work with this group, because every time I come to the discussion with what I brought to it, somebody uncovers something else much deeper. And I look forward to growing with them on this today and then future book studies. So I'll turn it over to you two, ladies.
Dr. Isaacs, we were honored to participate with you, and thank you for being, you lead professional learning for the district, and you yourself love to learn, and that is obvious. So that is really exciting too. I've worked in 5 districts, and let me tell you, not in every district is it that way. So we appreciate you more than I can say. All right. So Nicole, did you ever know that you were going to be a YouTube star when you were training to be a teacher?
I did not. In fact, I really, really hope to not be a YouTube star, but so far it's happened a couple of times. So I'm just gonna have to get over it. So I'm appreciative of this opportunity. Yeah. So this should be interesting. Do you want me to go ahead and share my screen as well now?
Sure.
Okay. I
Would you
sure
do
will.
that? Jim, did you know that you were going to be a VJ? Did you know that?
I absolutely had no idea. Walking into this role, I still didn't really get a grasp on that, but I've learned very quickly getting that DJ mode. Luckily, I have the voice for it, so we're good.
You do. Well,
Jim,
right.
you won the award for the coolest background. I don't know if that's real or not, but I could take a few lessons from that. That's pretty neat back there.
That is all Mrs. Unger, the wonderful librarian, who will actually be on next. Yeah, that's not me, but it does. She makes me look good.
Give her a raise. It's nice.
It looks awesome. I had a tree behind me, but I took it down because I didn't know if it was a winter thing or a holiday thing. So you're rocking it. You're owning it. I like it.
Well, thank you.
All right. So, yeah. So, Nicole and I were so lucky that we got to meet each other actually in this book study. And it was a blast because we got to hang out late during the week and drink cocoa and sometimes wear pajamas and talk about professional learning because I'm a nerd and I love professional learning books. So, it was really fun to find a group of other ladies. I think it was all ladies, right? In the district that really enjoyed doing that. So, we are going to talk to you or share what we learned about device management and print versus digital reading. And then also, we're going to talk about content design, which I think is so interesting because instructional design is something a lot of teachers we haven't studied, ID, but that's a fascinating topic as we've moved into this blended space that I think we all need to learn more about. So I think that's cool. All right. So if we're going to move ahead, I don't see your screen. Do you see Nicole's screen?
Oh, you don't see my screen?
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. Nope,
Oh,
you're good, Nicole. You had it, Nicole.
You know-
You were there. Michelle, if you look at the bottom, you'll see it, but I have it highlighted for our YouTube audience.
Gotcha. That is an upgrade.
They will
since
not
last
see
time.
any. They will not see any of us other than the screen unless I actually click to you to, show your pretty face while you're talking.
All right. Well, I like it very much. So, all right. So the big thing we want to talk about, when we start is the fact that, when you're working with students, you want to make sure that they have a voice. So that is all chapter 5. And we're going to talk to students about, thinking about where we can have a classroom where they can have voice and not everybody has to do the exact same thing all of the time. So the rest of this chapter, some of the ideas I'm going to share are really going to be helpful for when we're back in person, which I think we all need to be ready for, right? Because it could really happen quickly or it might take a lot longer. We just don't know. All right, so we're moving on. And on slide 3, if we look at slide 3, we're going to talk about some of the things that Michelle Eaton recommends. And some of the things that she really recommends is making sure that you have, clear instructions for kids. You want to make sure that you've got a device management procedure, thinking about how kids check things out. And then also, she's really big on transitions because when we go back into classrooms, the genie's out of the bottle. We're going to be using devices a lot more. Our kids are used to being one-to-one. And so we're going to have to think about how do we get kids to move from, station to station if you're doing that, or how are we going to store these devices? So a couple of things that she talked about that I really liked were something called the 1, 2, 3 method, which I'm secondary. And this sounds elementary, but I still think it could work. What you do is you say to kids, okay, 1, I want you to finish your work. 2, I want you to clean up, pick up your papers. And then 3, you need to push in your chair and move. So that's a great idea for digital management. Another thing she talked about is being at a 45-degree angle, like showing kids how they should move the lid of their laptop to 45. So it's not going to shut anything down, but they're not looking at the screen and they're making eye contact with you for different directions. And then I absolutely love this little chart to the side is just a collaborative doc. We've all used those in Google Docs where kids can actually list that they need help. I love this. It's like a real-time work order and they can put in, I need help with whatever, and other people in the classroom can support them. So I thought those were really cool ideas. And again, we need to be ready to go back at any time. So moving on, another thing she talks about in the chapter is really thinking about, what is your ideal classroom environment? What would be really helpful, in your room? So if you could just have anything, if you could have your classroom laid out in any way, what would you do? So I'm going to let you just think for 2 seconds about what would you like in your ideal classroom.
Michelle, I love this slide, by the way. This is one of my favorites. One of my favorites. I think about what we have to do with our kids and when we have them in any kind of workshop, this is vital for this kind of setup, especially with the transition part, especially with that part, and having like little student experts to kind of help you with tech support. So you're not the only one trying to get to a kid who's like, oh, I can't do it. You have help in the room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So moving ahead. So hopefully you've thought about that ideal classroom environment. And now we are going to look at some ideas. So we're going to look at what Michelle Eaton recommends for an ideal classroom environment. So she is going to be talking about and this is on slide 5, she's going to be talking about a quiet, independent space, having a small group space where kids can work together, and then a demonstration space, and then finally a maker space. So Nicole, if I think about high school, I'm less likely to see all these spaces because we have big kids in small spaces and lots of them. But do you think you work in an elementary school? Is this feasible to have all these spaces?
It's not only feasible, it's vital, but I would say really at any level. And you're right, at high school level, there's not much room, but believe it or not, you might not know this. I've actually been K through 12 at this point. I've been middle school and high school as well. In middle school, it was important for me to have these kind of spaces. And in high school, I didn't have as much room, but I moved the tables, I changed my flexible seating. I was one of those that did that kind of early on. And it made a difference for how my kids learned. So
that's awesome. Okay. So that was really it for chapter 5. Those were the big things, thinking about how to have that device management plan, and then also thinking about your space and making a flow for everyone to move. And again, some of the highlights from that section were really thinking about, using strategies like that 1, 2, 3, or turning that lid at 45 degrees. And then I forgot to mention one of my very favorites, classroom screen. Do you use that one, Nicole?
I use it now because of you. I use it now because of you. I love it, by the way. Thank you for that tip.
We actually use that in our adult meetings where we go into flight mode, like we're on an airplane. So we go to flight mode. We put our screens about halfway down. And back in middle school, when I was with the Verizon school, we had iPads. We do screens down, screens up for the classes. So yeah, definitely good things to know.
Yeah.
Well, since we've taken a break for just a second, Jim, should I be sharing another way so we can see Michelle while she's talking? Because I feel like that's vital for everyone to be able to see her while we're talking.
No, I can occasionally switch back and forth, but
Okay,
we really
great.
like having the slides up and people being able to see those.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All good. And, so that's one of the other things. And then two, Classroom Screen is just that simple website where you can go and get that clock. And I don't know about you guys, but I've used that in professional learning sessions with adults. So they know like, hey, we're going to start in 5 minutes, here's the attendance sheet, whatever is up there for them. So that's been really helpful. All right, so chapter 6, I'm going to jump into. This one was really just about digital versus print reading. And this one is going to serve us very well as we work in remote environments or as we think about going back in person, because it is really important that we think about how we read digitally versus how we read when we're in print. So thinking about it, when you get a book, Nicole, what do you feel like when you get a book that you're excited to read about?
I am definitely one of those people. I love to like touch my book, smell my book, feel it. I like to write in it. I like to highlight. I like to dog ear it. So I'm definitely one of those people that I am team print. But I also think for me, learning wise, it's important for me to be able to see it differently than on the screen. I think digital is best for me, like when I have to skim and scan or when I just have to access information really quickly. But if I have to really, really, truly learn, it has to be in print.
Yeah. So Nicole, you're the first person I've ever heard that talked about smelling the book. That I too have to take inventory of the scent. So I feel like that must be a sign of giftedness.
Okay, well, I'll take that. I appreciate that, Dr. Isaacs. Yeah, that means we're on a good team. We're on a good team.
So, Dr. Isaacs, what do you think? How long do you think, if you go to a computer to Google something, how long do you think you spend on a website? What's the average time that a person spends on a website?
I'm thinking maybe less than 20 seconds, 30 seconds. It just depends on the content. Sometimes I'll hover, but usually I'm looking for instant gratification on the search.
So the answer is that actually 55% of us spend less than 15 seconds on a web page. So we're already primed, you all, as when we're digitally reading, we naturally, just what Nicole said, we naturally just skim. We're not looking for, that comfortable experience where we find the most comfortable chair, we smell the book, feel the pages. We're just sitting down, skimming, and we're in and out for that information. So what's really interesting is that when we have made this transition from, in-person to remote instruction, we've just given kids digital text, but I don't think that we have really prepped them for it. So Dr. Isaacs, are you team print or team digital?
Wow. I'm sitting here surrounded by books. I really do prefer the print, just the tactile experience I think is important. It's part of my learning style, visual first and probably the kinesthetic second. But the digital is also appeals to my sense of I want something right now. So I don't know how to answer that question because they both have a purpose, but it just depends on the need. I don't know what the right answer is, but I do like both. I have an appreciation for both approaches.
I think that's true. So Nicole's going to click and I'll show you the cases. I'm going to actually show you where it would be better to do that. So where it says they are different, we're going to look at print and digital and just talk about how those are different. So with print, as you're reading print, you're much better at finding spatial information. And you've probably had this experience. If you're reading a book in print, you can remember if that was at the beginning of the book, at the end of the book. And a lot of that had to do with you touching those pages and seeing where you were. You can't really do that on a Kindle or a Nook, right? Print also offers fewer distractions. You don't have pop-up ads. You don't have hyperlinks. And really, print is recommended for fiction. There's something about being able to remember that order of the story that really supports reading fiction. And then digital, people who read digital text actually do a little bit better with informational text. So one of the things with a digital text is you can embed hyperlinks, you can have charts, tables, you can have additional information so that it's just not a flat page, right? And so informational reading is actually better. So on the next slide, this is an infographic that Dr. Irina McGrath and I made, and you all have access to this and you can click, but we have some strategies here that you can use to teach your students how to be digital readers. Because again, I don't think that we have taught kids how to be digital readers. And so one of the biggest suggestions, and this is on the next slide where it says Michelle Eaton recommends, is teaching those explicit strategies for each text and showing kids to take notes while they're reading digitally, and then mix digital and print when you're in class. But when kids are at home, they can grab a piece of paper and they can jot stuff down, and then really teaching kids that they have to code switch between online and in print reading. And then as a teacher, when you're creating content for kids, remember, you need to highlight essential vocabulary. You need to front load sentences by writing the really important stuff at the beginning. Use a lot of frequent headings. Think about things you find in social media, the top 7 things. You see lots of subheadings, do that. And then make bulleted lists, because if we know kids skim online, we want to create scannable text that they could just, scan through. And so on the next slide, I offer links to 2 strategies that I really like to use with English learners, but really any students. And it's a way to mix paper with digital text. One is sketchnoting, where kids draw as you read to them or they read. And then another is a one-pager. And if you've ever done a one-pager, they're great. And it's a perfect assignment to do with students because they mixed text and images, but it's also one of the top things I see teachers leave for students when they have a substitute. So that's it. That's the difference between print and digital reading. And I'm going to let Nicole talk about digital content design.
Just a note on what you just shared. So when we think of like things that really have that bang for your buck, note making is one of them. It's a high yield instructional strategy. I know sometimes we hate to hear all these terms because they always come at us, but this is one of those that is like vital for our kids to really be able to digest and take in the information. And sketchnoting and one pages are like the top notch of those. So I love that you shared those in particularly.
Yeah.
Okay, so with chapter 7 and 8, it really is all about digital content design. And we got a crash course in that once we did NTI. I know that some teachers were doing it already, but a lot weren't. And so we got that crash course in trying to figure out how to like create our content, what's the best way to present it, what's the best way to get it to kids, what's the best way to get their assignments back and get feedback. We've gotten a big crash course in that. So that's why this book is perfect. And in particular, chapter 7 and 8, if you are wanting to know the things that you could do different as we create more content. So one of the main things is really just setting up your learning objectives and having hooks. So that's why you see the line where it says your mission, if you choose to accept it. Having those kind of hooks and those learning objectives have kids immediately look at your content. And then just so you know, chapter 7 and 8 is dealing with kind of looking at the software versus teacher created digital content, your design theme choices, and then lesson design, what the differences have to be if it's virtual versus face-to-face. With chapter 8, it talks about that cognitive load, making sure that you're not covering too much information where it can't be able to actually be digested and understood by kids. And then the best ways to design with multimedia content. Especially just making sure that we look at short-term memory, going from short-term memory and working memory to long-term memory so kids are able to retain what we share with them. So when we look at digital content design options, we know the great stuff that we get. We have lots of things that we're already using with Google Classroom, with I think of all the things that we're using as far as, Lexia or Dreambox or those kinds of things. There are pros and cons to that in the fact that there's maybe not as much flexibility, but it's very professional. There's no prep. There's not much that's on our end that we have to do, but it is cost heavy, very cost heavy, and there's not much flexibility. With teacher created, it's on us. Like we get to, really truly customize it for the kids, make it where it's where they understand and it's what's needed for every one of our kids in our classroom. But we might be limited by our own abilities. I know that I am when I first started to create content. So the best option is really best of both worlds with a hybrid. So that is something to keep in mind when you look at your content design and the best ways to actually leverage what we're already sharing. I mean, JCPS has done such a great job in, getting content for us, getting licenses, getting different programs for us, that it's easy for us to use with our kids. But how do we utilize those options, but also create content that is either a supplement or an addition to, or helps us be able to use that information better? So when you look at designing digital content, the best thing to do is think about what you're trying to do. What's your end goal? What are you trying to do at the end? But most importantly, once they use it, no matter the grade level, how easy are they able to get through everything with digital navigation? So it needs to be clear and concise. It needs to be very easy to use. Think about your use of color. Try to use no more than 3, but keep in mind if it is something that they're going to have to read for a little bit of time, let's say 5 minutes, really true sustained reading, it should always be a white background with black ink. You will have some students that may have vision issues where you have to do the exact opposite. You actually have to have a dark background with white ink. But for the most part, if it's instructional content, it should be a white background with black ink. I say that because I know me, as you can see with our slides, we want to, kind of just have it very lively and, pictures and graphics and different colors and different fonts, but really that's not what's best for our kids. So it doesn't mean you have to be boring, but it does mean you need to kind of like keep that in mind as far as what they're looking at on certain slides or digital content that you're creating. Speaking to that, it's also for the same for font selection, making sure that it's no more than 2 fonts. And what's usually best for web is sans serif, or actually sans serif. I pronounced it incorrectly. The biggest thing in all of this, and this is really whether you're face-to-face or whether you're virtual, is really thinking about all the different ways kids can show what they know and being able to give them feedback and them learning from that and knowing what to do next. So there's something that we need to just embrace. It's very hard to embrace, but we need to embrace it, and that's gradual release. So making sure that your formative assessment strategies are involving self-reflection, those quick activities where students actually think about their thinking. So they understand what they learn, so they can take in what it is and what they need to do next. They have an opportunity to ask questions. They have opportunity to share what they don't understand. You just have to make sure that that is part of your lesson design. Try to involve some kind of student interaction where there's peer feedback, peer assessment. I can think of, if you use something like Padlet, kids can be able to address each other through comments or through something they said, or, like something. The chat, when we do polls, something like that, all of that involves like kind of peer feedback and peer assessment, and it makes the learning very social. Other aspects to think about making sure you include in your design is automated assessment. And this is where like the games like Kahoot and those kinds of things come in, also simulations. But the biggest thing is it builds student agency where they can kind of own their learning. And the main thing is that it gives you a brain break. And so it reduces stress. I also think about just when you are looking at student learning, in what ways can you break the mold of what we consider traditional assessment? Does it have to be multiple choice? Does it always have to be a short answer? Just making sure that we are really, really, really looking at all those different ways that kids can show what they know and not always be paper and pencil. So just make sure you put a digital spin on it in some form or manner. And so with gradual release, we were designing lessons. So it's an opportunity for a kid to basically show what they know and kind of give understanding before you get to that summative assessment. So that is basically chapter 7 in a nutshell. When you get to chapter 8, the biggest aspect of it is really concentrating on cognitive load. And what we mean by that is that in anything, we can only take in so much information. And so you really want to make sure that you only have the essential information in there. So select only the essential information that kids need to know. Do not put any more than that. Make sure that you are also chunking it. When you have stuff on a slide, such as this, you see I have negative space so that everything's not just, clumped together. So negative space is actually a good thing. And make sure that you have a reflection throughout your lesson. And we kind of talked when we talked about formative strategies, but we really want kids to be able to have those opportunities to reflect on their thinking, reflect on their learning, reflect on the feedback you just shared with them. So you can do that through quick writes, one-sentence summaries, anything like that. And so some teacher-approved digital tools. So when you do get to this presentation, we wanted y'all to have those tools right there. Some you may know, some you may not. I know some that I learned was about Color Hunt Co. It kind of lets you, when you were setting up actually, who I learned from was Michelle Shorey. So actually, I'll let her explain what Color Hunt Co. is.
Oh, Color Hunt, you're sweet. Color Hunt Co. is super easy. It's just decorators put together colors that go well together, because I don't have an eye for that. I need to have somebody guide me, what shade blue looks great with what shade pink. And then that text giraffe is fun, Nicole, too, because that you can type in a word and it'll just make a really pretty logo for you. So if you're making something pretty, in your Google Classroom or whatever, you can use it. One that you didn't mention that I'm obsessed with now is that WebAIM website.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And that's where you can go to check your text and your color contrast to make sure that it's going to help students who might have visual impairments. And so that's a really cool thing. You can check your accessibility there at WebAIM. And I'd never heard about that before this book. So that one's really cool to me.
Thank you. That is a good one. And you're right, I didn't put on there. And that is an important one to have, because as I continue to say, what's good for our ELL babies, what's good for our ECE babies, what's good for 504, whatever the case is, if you consider them a special population, is actually really good for all of our kids. So thank you.
I'm coming in here. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Nicole.
No, I was just going to share when they get to this, there's just some activities and action plans that might help from when we do go further into any kind of virtual learning. And just wanted to mention that a lot of this is actually coming from the ISTE standards for educators. So I don't think everyone knows about those, but it is really something to check out. And so I put the hyperlink in there as well. Go ahead, Dr. Isaacs.
I just wanted to jump in to give a shout out to you, Nicole, and you, Michelle. This is, as I'm sure you agree, whatever we bring to the book study, it goes much deeper with what we walk away from. So I just encourage those of you out here that catch this recording by accident or on purpose to be thinking about areas in your building that you want to pursue as a problem of practice to improve upon, and reach out to these people that you see in here, and also to the IT3 team. They are absolutely instrumental in so much of the work behind the scenes, and never take credit for it. We just want to say thank you, and keep learning. That's the only way that we improve student learning, is if we shift our own practices. So be hungry for learning. The other thing I want to shout out to Michelle and Nicole are just examples of people that are working so hard behind the scenes, and then instead of taking the evening off, they spend a Monday or a Wednesday evening for an hour, and I'm talking late bedtime, talking about more learning and book study. So we appreciate your leadership, and also for just putting yourself out there today to share. And thank you, IT3. We appreciate you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Isaacs. We feel the same about you, by the way.
We do, and I didn't know Nicole before the book study. So in addition to learning, you meet fabulous people across the district.
And I tell you what, Dr. Isaac's really going today. I think she's trying to move on to our team so she can start hosting on the Digital Learning Channel. Yeah, I hear you there.
I can hope, but I don't know that there would be a place for me.
We will
I'll be
make
your
room.
mascot, okay?
Well, thank you, ladies. Nicole, Michelle, thank you. It was amazing. Great talk on the book. Love it. Right, like I said, the books we've studied, this goes right with it. It's so much mirrored information that just validates all those things going on. All right, so we are at 2:30, and by our schedule, that means we're going to take a break from the Perfect Blend. That's our second installment. We have a third coming up at 3. But it's now 2:30, which means we have Girls Who Game, the girls gaming team from Lassiter Middle School, and they are being joined by Digital Innovation's Matt Balka. Who's here? I see Matt.
Hi.
Hi.
Look at this trio.
Hey, well, I'm not going to take any time. I just want to say thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being just awesome examples for our district on what Girls Who Game can be. Because of you all, we're going to have like 13 more clubs this year. So you're awesome, and Miss Unger's awesome, and I'm super excited to listen to you guys talk about Girls Who Game. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Is that all right, gentlemen?
Absolutely. It's your show.
Or not.
It's all right. So if you go to the 3 dots at the top right, that's typically where share screen is on this amazing Hangout.
Thank you.
And we are seeing your screen.
Okay, good.
And if you would hit that hide on that blue button for me.
I was on my way, Mr. Unger.
Outstanding. All right, you're a pro. I apologize. Have at it.
So, hi, I'm Miranda.
I'm Duarsa.
And we are part of the LMS Girls Who Game team. So, what is Girls Who Game? Girls Who Game is an extracurricular club focused on fostering IT leaders of the future. Our club was a positive space for girls to participate and challenge each other in esports.
Girls Who Game is a partnership with Dell and Microsoft to increase access to technology for young girls.
The 3 keys to Girls Who Game are provide authentic applications, develop mentorship, and build a community of learners.
One of the things that faced us as a challenge this year was not being able to be together, and we still wanted to have a club picture. And so one of the things we did to work around that was we went to Pixton and we made our own avatars and we made our own club picture. So a lot of the things we did in Girls Who Game to make it work during NTI was finding different kind of workarounds and just finding flexible ways to make it exciting and more interesting for the girls.
Girls Who Game created opportunities not just for us, but for everyone.
So what the girls just shared with you there, they had an opportunity to participate as the middle school representatives for the entire state of Kentucky. And that was something that happened because of Girls Who Game. Do you girls want to share anything that happened as a result of that? I know you learned a lot of things.
We learned so much. We got to talk with like the leaders of all of it. They said we had opportunities if we wanted to participate in Microsoft gaming and colleges and every opportunity we had. They were just really great to work with overall.
And I think they talked about sponsors, which you ladies were very excited about.
It was a lot.
Sorry, Lucy.
So our challenge this year was to build a sustainable restaurant of the future. Our step one was to dig in with Minecraft, and start building.
Our step two was we have thoughts of how we could focus on building and getting the community involved into our restaurant.
We also thought about what if we can teach people how to create, cook, and plant their own gardens too?
What if we let the community know about our project and start now?
And that's what I love the most about Girls Who Game. When we started, I wasn't really sure. I started with a group of girls and all the girls were amazing. These are very smart girls, but it was a different group of girls. It was a group of girls that I necessarily wouldn't sit at a lunchroom table together. And so as a teacher, I was concerned, how are they going to get along? What's going to happen? They got into Minecraft and they just started creating and building and working together and coming up with solutions and ideas. And it actually just blew me away. I've been so proud of them the entire time. And each time they worked together, they got more and more involved in making this a larger project. So it really became a fun way to not only learn and work with the girls and see what they could do, but then also how we could reach out to the community. And we were able to do that, I think, pretty well with Girls Who Game this year. This is the culminating project that the girls did, and I think they are pretty excited to share it with you.
We're the LMS Girls Who Game team. Welcome to Louisville Roots, our plant-based restaurant. We have had a non-traditional club experience, which has made us stronger as a team. Our goal has always been to create a sustainable restaurant for the future, but we wanted more. Our Girls Who Game team started small, then as a group we collaborated and grew better and bigger. We each brought in individual ideas to overall make the restaurant a great experience. Thank you, Miranda. Louisville, Kentucky has a current population of 617,790. 6,986 of that population are considered homeless. Keeping those statistics in mind, we wanted to not only design a sustainable place for the community to eat, but also grow and learn. What started as simply a restaurant of the future turned into a full living and growing community eatery. Thank you, Aubrey. When you first walk into the restaurant, the tables are 6 feet apart for safety reasons. We also require people to wear masks before entering. After someone leaves the table, we make sure to clean up after them to be safe. We also require masks for all workers. At Louisville Roots, we sell plant-based food. We want people to eat healthy and to take care of themselves. Our island is made out of stone mats to be sturdy and long-lasting. In order to enter the island space, we use fence sticks. The glass ceiling above isn't just for looks. Our ceiling is glass because we want to use sunlight instead of power. By doing this, we aren't harming the environment. Thank you, Brooklyn. So we also have an outside sitting area that is connected to the main restaurant. You can choose to sit outside if you would like. There's 7 tables that are spread out 6 feet apart, so it's better if you're not spreading germs and helping with COVID. The tables are spread out so everyone can feel comfortable and safe in eating. This space also gives us more room so we can have more eating spaces. The tables are made of stone, so they are very durable and great for outside seating. There's also a sitting area you can sit here on the couches when waiting for your table and food to be ready. Thank you, Emmy. We created a parking lot as a reality. Hopefully they will be filled with stations where electric cars emit far fewer greenhouse gases and are overall a more sustainable option for our future. Thank you, Paris. In the garden, we have fruit and vegetables planted for healthier eating and a better environment, along with flowers surrounding the area and trees. To close it in, we use ivy blocks. Did you know sunflowers are edible, such as clover, lavender, sunflowers, and pansies? Thank you, Gracie. We have a community organization that agreed to partner with us called Local Groups. They offer local brands for seeds and supplies to start community gardens. Composting is really good for the soil because it enriches the soil. Composting is a rich nutrient in the soil and it breaks down bacteria and everything else that might hurt the plants. Composting can also be used as a substitute for chemical fertilizers. Alright, thanks, Dorsa. Our green roof incorporates the growing irrigation and drainage system. Through our research, we found that not only is this an eco-friendly, sustainable choice, but it's a long-term, cost-effective way to improve air quality for our community. The living roof is covered with plants and vegetation. It has a few different types of ferns and flowers that all do well in the sun. The living roof serves as the cover to our teaching station. Thanks, Hazel. We created an economic-friendly teaching station. This is a futuristic way for community members to come in and learn one-to-one lessons from the chefs themselves within our kitchen island. The teaching station will partner with other local sustainable businesses, such as Logan Street Market, Farm to Fork, Kentucky Greens Company, Skinner Farms, and Hazelfield Farms. These businesses will present on planting, nutrition, sustaining your garden, and composting. Free seed packages will also be passed out to anyone who comes. Thank you, Miranda. We have grown in learner-driven experiences and built long-lasting relationships driven by the power of a positive, supportive, giving community. We are starting now with the help of Louisville Girls to make our vision a reality. We look forward to changing the statistics of girls in the IT workforce. We hope you're ready for us.
Okay, one of my most favorite parts of this was the learning station that the girls came up with. And Miranda, will you share with them how that kind of came to be and where the idea came from? Because it was my absolute favorite.
It's a funny story. So if you know Target, so that kind of happened. They have that type of roof, a living roof. And we looked it up and we found out that
not Target, the library by Target. The library by Outer Loop on Target.
Okay,
We know what you mean. Southwest Regional Branch of the
There
library.
you go, Mr. Rucker. Thank you.
I heard Target. Okay, anyways, so then we looked it up and we found out all the good things that come out of it, such as the price, cost, how much longer they last. There's just a list of reasons. That was so much better than a normal roof.
And then the teaching station, you want to share a little bit about that? That kind of came from your work with the Apple Store.
The Apple Store. So they brought us in and they taught, technology, different ways. We had multiple lessons with them, and we thought we can incorporate that in our project by the teaching station with the cooks, where people could come in, watch one-to-one, and get experience if they wanted to learn how to cook by the chefs.
Absolutely. And then one of the other ideas that the girls had was to let people not only come in and eat and to learn, but then they could take seed packets home. And Louisville Grows is actually giving grants out, and that will start this spring, to the community to start their own gardens. And they are going to be giving out packets of seeds. So it all kind of fell together, and we were able to contact those community organizations and work with them and get more and more ideas. And as that kind of happened, the girls got more excited, and we added more things to our Minecraft restaurant.
So as I said in the video, our community
are on here.
You can also email me at any time. I know what we were talking about earlier as we were kind of going over this is we are really excited to see Girls Who Game grow throughout Jefferson County, because that's going to give us a lot of opportunities for even bigger collaboration. And I think that the coaches that take this on are going to find out that once you let your girls go, there is no limits for all the amazing things that they can come up with. But what we'd love to hear now are the questions that you have for us.
Should we get off the slide so we can talk to them like that?
Ask Mr. Unger.
Either or, if you want the audience to see you, absolutely, you can drop the slide. So, I mean, one thing, I've kind of heard this passively, obviously, because I know you're coach there, but just hearing you go through and talking with the video, you can see all the environmental science that's in there, the ecology, social studies that's in there, working with the community, the writing and presentation skills, because obviously you can tell with the transitions and that, a lot of time and work went into creating that piece of it. So there's like the 4 main content areas. You've got math with your spacing and the layout, talking about social distancing. So I like how there was that awareness built into that, and it's just so many pieces that come together. And I think it's one of those great things you see where you guys have learned, and I don't even know that you realized all of the pieces that you've actually learned with that. It's such a powerful project, in my opinion. So I do have a couple questions. So what contact or what have you worked with? You put the places on there like Louisville Grows, Logan Street Market. What contact have you guys had with them, or did they have any input on this, or have they seen what you came up with?
Yes, Louisville Grows has been amazing. What they are actually going to do is they're going to be they're either going to be coming to school, which we're not sure yet, or virtually coming to us, and they are actually going to give the families in our school seed packets so they can start growing their own gardens. And then the idea that we have been working with Logan Street, Farm to Fork, and Hazelfield Farms, what we would really, really like to do is start it kind of small, and the girls, I think it was Miranda, that was like, Miss Unger, what does this have to do with coding? I'm pretty sure that's who it was. I wanted them to be able to make a sustainable meal. So these places I've been working with to donate food so that every girl in the club will be able to get a grocery bag of food, and will be able to work with them virtually and actually make a meal for their families, or to share, or whatever the case may be. So we're excited about that. And that's just going to be more into adding to the learning experience. Also, Mr. Unger, you were pointing out a lot of the different categories that this falls into. This is a huge piece for these ladies to put in their backpack that not many students are going to have. In fact, these girls are the only girls right now in JCPS that will have the opportunity to have this piece in their backpack. And I think that is a really, really strong piece that will say, hey, we're ready for high school. We have been able to build community partners. We have been able to work with different types of people within our school and different personalities, and we're ready. So I think and we can code, obviously. They're rock stars at that. So I think that's also another good point to bring up.
I think that's just fabulous. And I love you did the backpack tie-in for us, so our IT3 team, Matt and I, don't have to do that. The artifact on here, I think the hardest part's saying, what do I want to put this under? Is this collaborator? Is this globally and culturally competent? Communicator? Just so many pieces this hits. It's great. So for the girls, I do have a question. So you've been doing this work, and once again, as a middle school project, to be doing all of these pieces, and now you're looking at how can we go further, like taking that menu, and how would you actually build a sustainable meal? These are just such good connections. But so for the girls, has this given you any new thoughts as far as what and I know you always, of course, the classic teacher, what do you want to be when you grow up? Has this given you any thoughts as far as future studies or what you may want to go into as a career down the line?
Well, with the Girls Who Game thing, when they talked to us about the colleges and all the opportunities we would have then, my brain started thinking of different future options. Yeah. And then that would be awesome if we could take this project and then incorporate it in later projects, maybe in high school or maybe in college, even make it bigger and better. And then maybe make our own restaurant one day. So yeah, there's many different things that I've thought about in my future with this project.
Me too. I think whenever they told us about all the other options, it got me thinking, like, what if I actually don't want to be that? Maybe I want to change it up, start getting better in technology and everything.
Yeah, that's great.
I've already offered to be their managers as they get older.
That was going to be my follow-up question, Mrs. Unger, was what has this changed about your teaching or your thoughts about maybe Minecraft or just the different things with the girls? I mean, this is just seeing this because I know it's been going on, but it's really eye-opening for me to see this amount of work that went into this. I love the research they did on the green roof and talking about how it's cheaper and how it's sustainable. Those are just great little pieces that are in there. Go ahead, Ms. Unger. I apologize.
Oh, no, you're fine. It actually really changed the way I will approach when I go back into a classroom, and also as I will continue with NTI, because as I said, and I've said this a few times, and I've said it to Mr. Bolka also, I was so concerned and wrapped up with like, are these girls going to get along? Are they going to be able to like all handle each other? Are there going to be fights? You know, that mentality of worrying about them rather than just letting them loose and figuring it out on their own. Once I was able to let go, they showed me how smart and amazing and talented they were. And if I would have spent less time worrying and more time just letting them get started, I think they could have done even more with it. So I think that moving forward as a teacher, it was an excellent lesson for me because I learned that, yes, they are middle school kids, but they're really mature and these are very intelligent middle school kids. So I need to let go and let them grow on their own.
No, I mean, I just love this. I mean, if you looked at this as a PBL for project-based learning, this could be, you know, just huge right here, just this project alone. So did the students pick the restaurant or was that assigned to them as the challenge for Girls Who Game?
No, Girls Who Game assigned it, but we completely, like, we had different options when we were picking out what we wanted the restaurant to look like how we wanted the glass roof, the teaching station, all of that was us. Like, we also have an L, it's school colors. All of that we designed at the very beginning. We all like set our ideas and kind of came together as what we all wanted, and it looked amazing.
Yes, Girls Who Game gives you the idea, like what you need to do, and it's like a sentence. You need to build a restaurant of the future. There's also a curriculum that goes along with this. It's very detailed, and they do give you a lot of background. And I think a lot of the Girls Who Game process is also just checking in and making sure I know that the girls are okay. You know, if someone was having a bad day, or if someone's had a family member that was not doing well, we all kind of knew what was going on. And so also that part of Girls Who Game, I think the girls became stronger together that way as well. And that was good for me during NTI as a teacher also. It helped me with the connection with the girls. And I think it probably got me through NTI much happier. But they do give you a curriculum, but the main project each semester, and we're at level 1, changes. And so what the girls don't know, which they're going to find out right now, is they are going to help get to pick what the level 1 project will be for the next level 1 JCPS students coming up. And they're just finding that out right now.
Wow, that's exciting.
It is exciting. So the next time we find out, kind of like there's other groups throughout the country that did this. And once we all kind of meet together, these girls are going to help pick out what level 1 teams are going to do. And they are moving on to level 2. So we're excited about that as well.
All right, so let me go with another question here. So we do have a lot of new teams coming on. I know Matt's really excited about this. What would be your biggest piece of information, your best learning piece for any new coaches that are going to be coming in, taking this on, whether it's middle school or elementary? And that's to you, Miss Unger.
That's to me. I was looking at the girls. One thing I learned is you can absolutely, for us, and the level where my girls were, they needed more than an hour. An hour a week was not going to cut it for all the ideas that they had. There's no way they could have gotten this done in an hour a week. So make sure you're able to set some time aside and figure out what works best for your club. And that could have even been the girls getting together. And I know they did that on their own. They would get together and work on the world when I wasn't able to. But there were several nights where there was several hours that we were working on it. So make sure you give yourself enough time and you don't limit your time. The other thing, what else should I say that's very important?
The hour.
Oh,
the book lounge.
Yes, we did a lounge situation that worked well for us. That would be a good idea if you're in a middle school or a high school. I don't know how it would work in an elementary, but that 2 to 3 every day, an open lounge situation. So if the girls wanted to come in and work on the project, they were able to. Also, if they wanted to come in and talk to me, or they needed to work on schoolwork or their backpack, they were able to do that. So we kind of opened it up to, a few different things. And that worked really well for us. It made us stronger, I think.
So the biggest takeaway I got then is manage your time and be ready to spend a little bit more time, or have open time for the kids to meet, because they're going to be that into it. Now, ladies, girls, what would be your biggest piece of advice to new students joining a Girls Who Game team coming up?
I would say try to get along with your peers and everyone. And you shouldn't be embarrassed to tell your teacher and their other people you're working with your ideas, because it could actually be really helpful and it could win you and get you on to the next level.
So consider everybody's ideas, so that way eventually when it comes together, everybody likes it just as much.
Teamwork, man, I really like that. That's good. Great answer, ladies. Matt, do you have anything? I think I'm running dry on questions here.
Yeah, I think it's a good question to close us out on, actually. Girls, what are you looking forward to most about continuing on with Girls Who Game for level 2 in the spring here?
I'm so excited. One thing, it would probably be to take a project, and instead of spending so much time, just put every single detail, make it more like ours. Cause like, even though that was like Lassiter like themed, like we can put more of every single person, like their personalities and everything into it, make it more fun and creative.
Once again, great answer. So take it further and give more identity to each of the teammates within that project. It's really good. Great things going on with Girls Who Game. Any final words, Miss Unger?
Overall, I think it was an amazing experience for myself as a teacher. And I think, and I hope it was an amazing experience for the girls. I think we all learned a lot. I learned a lot of things about sustainability. I enjoyed making contacts with the community, and I'm excited to see where these girls go. I mean, because I think the sky's the limit at this point.
Very exciting stuff. Thank you, ladies, for being on today. I have 2:59 on the clock. This is the JCPS Digital Learning Channel. We were just cheering on the Girls Who Game team from Lassiter Middle School, showing their amazing presentations, pieces they've made through Minecraft Education Edition, working in collaboration with Microsoft and Dell to spearhead the effort in Kentucky, and growing quickly. Can't wait to see that. All right. And up next, we look at our schedule here, we are on to the 3 o'clock last section of the Perfect Blend, chapters 9 through 11. And I can tell you from the last two, I know this is going to be great. Talking about blended learning, technology in your classroom, how to keep this progress growing that we've been working with, and how to grow our skills in that. And with that, let me turn this over to the amazing Dr. Isaacs.
Thank you very much for the welcome. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to our IT team, and also their leader, Heather Worrell, for being so gracious as to take an interest in our book study and work hard to make sure the message is shared out there. For those of you just joining, we're on a third part of our series where we're going to cover chapters 9 through 10. Originally, we were going to do 11, but we had a little situation, so we're only going to do 2 of those chapters. But you're not missing out too much. It's just a review of that last chapter, summarizing everything. So we'll get Kelly on a little later. But I do want to just set up and let you know that the Professional Development and Learning Department is seeking to just stay ahead of the learning trends across different places and things in our district. And one of the things that we saw a need for was blended learning. We are getting to be experts within the virtual learning setting. We know we are going to transition back to an in-person setting, but one of the I would say side effect or a great piece that's come out of this is we're going to be more acquainted with jumping into doing blended learning. And the book study that we did was basically putting out a call to the district to say, hey, who wants to learn about this as we try to build the plane as we fly it? And so we had a very interesting response in that we had leaders from the district level, leaders within schools, leaders within teams. A lot of different people joined in, and all of us came to the book study with kind of one perspective, but it was deepened just listening to the ways in which other people interpreted. And so what we're hoping that you come away from today is, number one, some knowledge about blended learning that you can kind of explore and jump into right away. The second thing is we hope that you can make a connection to somebody presenting if you want to talk or have further discussion. And third, we want to encourage you to also consider starting or participating in a book study so that you can be the change when you're looking at problems of practice in your respective areas. So without further ado, I do want to turn this over to 2 incredible leaders. We've got Donna Johnson and then Keela Selch that's going to be explaining and giving you a little feedback. And I also want to just give just a little heads up. I will not be able to stay the entire time. I have another meeting that conflicts, but I will turn it over to you, Keela and Donna. And thank you so much for your leadership in sharing what you've taken away from this study.
Thank you, Dr. Isaacs, for even putting the book study together. It was a really great book to read and learn from and help. And chapter 9 is about designing. You want to introduce or anything? You frozen?
You were frozen, Keela, but do you, if you want to sign back off and come back on, maybe that'll help, and then we can get the presentation, whatever your preference.
All right, can you see the
We see your screen.
Am I there, Dr. Isaacs, or have you all lost me?
I see you, and I hear you, and it looks like your computer screen is transitioning, like in the middle of something. Okay, we see your presentation. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so designing for personality and interaction in chapter 9 really talks a lot about how to bring your personality to your digital format, how to tie in, bring it to the online version. Humanize our digital content, that our digital classroom should be viewed as an extension. And how would you do that same thing in the digital format? So think about, are you funny? Do you joke around with your students? Are you creative and crafty? And how can you carry those aspects over when you're meeting with them? So one of the things we can do is use humor. We know our students love humor. They appreciate it. It gives them something to engage with us on. It makes learning more fun and interesting. So one of the things that we need to really make sure that we're avoiding sarcasm, especially with our younger students. They don't always pick up on those social cues, and it's also harder to deliver in an online environment. So thinking about they're not able to read our body language as much. They're not able to really see the expression on our face necessarily all the time. So one of the ways to help us with that is there's an article here, and it's linked in. It's using humor to improve student learning. And this article is a super quick, easy read. It has a lot of suggestions in it, different things that you can use to make learning fun. And one of the big things, of course, we know memes are hot right now. We see them all over the place on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So those are one of the things that we can use to make learning fun and engaging. One of the other things when you're planning for your digital content is ask yourself these 3 questions. What makes your classroom special? So if students come into the building, what makes your classroom stand out? What makes it feel like a room that they would want to be in? And do you have any of those aspects present in the digital environment as well? How does your lesson make you feel? Do you feel bored? Do you feel excited? I know the other day I was planning with one of our teachers on a Nearpod activity for social studies, and we were looking for a video to embed. And about 3 minutes in, I told her, I said, I'm super bored right now. There's no way our kids are going to like this either. So if you feel like you have to question what you're putting in there, you don't feel like it's that engaging, it's probably best to go ahead and pull that out and find something else. And then the next question, can I find the teacher in this content? When your students see your activities you've planned or the way you're presenting things, do they see you, or do they see it as something that is just having to be done, so you're doing it? And then what about your students? Are you giving them voice and choice in their activities? And we all know right now there's a character for everything. Bitmoji is hot. We have lots of awesome Bitmoji classrooms that teachers have created that have libraries with them. I've seen math Bitmoji classrooms that have a lot of hands-on or virtual hands-on manipulative students can use. There's also Voki. Voki is a neat site. You can create avatars to deliver the content. One of the things, though, like most really nice things, is it does cost money, but it does have a free trial that you can check out and see if you're interested in it. One of the things in Michelle Eaton's book she talked about, and I thought this was really neat when I was looking into it more, there was a teacher who used Voki and created a Abraham Lincoln avatar. And he had the history lesson presented through the avatar of Abraham Lincoln. And it was really neat when reading it in the book how the students felt about having it presented that way versus the teacher being the one to present the information. One of the things that we want to make sure is when using Bitmojis or using avatars, that they should not replace the actual teacher videos, that it's still important as educators we are doing our screencastifys or our YouTube videos and presenting some of the information as well. That really helps students still have that teacher to student connection and interaction. So Bitmojis and avatars are best used when we're giving immediate information, just like the internet, where we want to give a quick fact or something, give them a piece of information up to date, reminders for different things that they need to have finished or completed. Student creativity and personality. This goes into that voice and choice, making sure our students have those opportunities to showcase their work and show their creativity and their personalities as well. Things that we can use for that are things like Flipgrid or Padlet. It allows them to record their videos. It gives them a chance to show their faces and let their voices be heard. And we know that with online learning, students tend to feel a little bit isolated. I think even as adults, we're feeling a little isolated at times. And I know every time we get on a meeting, you can't help yourself but get sidetracked on conversation because you're so excited to see somebody's face and have conversation. Our students need to have those opportunities as well. Another thing that she talks about is having interactive digital lessons, and there's 3 different ways to do this. We can do it with a student-to-student interaction, student-to-teacher interaction, or the student-to-content interaction. So one of the things we want to do is make sure we try to find ways to incorporate all 3 of these when we're doing lessons throughout the day. So with student-to-student, this is where you can use things like I said in the previous slide, they can use a discussion board like Padlet. This gives them a chance to have an authentic audience. Their peers can give feedback to them, and it helps build that sense of community. You can do student to student by doing it daily, weekly, bi-weekly, but it is something that we have to be intentional about and putting in our schedule for students to interact. These activities with student to student interaction could be online or offline. You might have 2 students working on the same task on their computer, but doing it by working in a Google Doc or a Google Slide and giving each other comments back and forth and giving feedback that way. You may also do it offline where you have them work together like we typically would in a group side by side doing a project on the computer. Student to teacher interaction is where we have to stop and think. Are we doing our student to teacher interaction to inform students of what grades they're receiving or to guide them in their learning? And we really want to make sure that we're working with students in the format of giving them feedback, giving them information that they can use and take back, and having the chance to make changes or add things to what they're working on and grow. This student to teacher interaction could be through virtually meeting, doing it face to face. You might even use audio or video feedback. I know one of the things my own child's teacher has been using is Moat, and it's been wonderful because she can go back and hit play and not only do the words pop up on the screen, but she can hear it as well. And it gives that sense of her teacher cares, and she gets really excited every time she opens one of those up. Student to content interaction can be static, which is where they go to websites or videos that the teachers created, but we can also add interactive activities for them to do that go with that content. So we might do like things like games, simulations, learning objectives, learning objects that require them to actively like click things. So all 3 of these have a different purpose. So when planning, something we want to think about is how can we have multiple interactive digital, multiple interactions for students digitally in our lessons. So kind of the last thing, chapter 9 wasn't too terribly long. It's a pretty quick read. The key points with this are, let your students see your personality, the real you in person. Let them see that person online as well. Closer the teacher is to learning, the less likely cheating is to occur, and that's even digitally. So if they know that you're giving them feedback and you're there for them and you're going to have live meetings and talk to them or send them videos, they're going to be less likely to cheat because they know that they have you there to help with those things. Characters are great to add for storytelling. They're good for engagement, and they are perfect for that just-in-time information. Be intentional about creating time for students to showcase their personalities and be creative. I know Google Form is great. It's a quick, easy way to get a grade in, but we really need to be thinking about ways to allow students to work collaboratively together in a digital format and allow them opportunities to showcase themselves in multiple ways. And then coming back, think of those 3 types of interactions that you can do for your students daily. And that is all I have, Miss Donna. I think you are up.
All right, I'm Donna Johnson. I am the librarian at Coral Ridge Elementary. And my chapter of The Perfect Blend was chapter 10. Let me see if I can put this up here really quickly.
There you go, Miss Donna. We see your screen.
All right. We all set?
Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So chapter 10 was all about designing digital content for all learners. So the chapter objectives were to know the rationale and the legal obligations behind accessible digital content and to understand the 9 elements of accessible digital content. And it's important because when we present content in the classroom, we're making sure that it's accessible by all of our students so that they can learn and grow. And digital content has to be presented just the same way. Not only is it the right thing to do, but it's also legally required by the Americans with Disabilities Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. It does not exempt digital content. And when we're on NTI, the accessibility is even more vital because it's our only option right now. It's also proactive. Accommodations are reactive based on what we learn after we teach the lesson, and making sure that everything's accessible from the get-go, that's a proactive step. And there are 9 elements to the digital accessibility that are covered in the chapter, and in the presentation, each one of these hyperlinks to the slide that covers it. That's text formatting, PDF readability, use of color, animations and visual effects, hyperlinks, images, math equations, keyboard navigation, and video captions and transcripts. So text formatting, you want to make sure that you're using headings and subheadings properly because that's going to allow your students who are using screen readers to navigate those text sections. Because if you just bold, italicize, capitalize, or make the font bigger, it does not create headings, subheadings for screen readers. Someone with no visual issues could look at that and see, yes, that's a heading, but the screen reader is not going to see that. Now, word processing programs will allow you to format the text with the headings and the subheadings. Google Slides is one that doesn't, but Google Docs does allow you to do that. Now, James, when I was presenting this with the group, with the book group, when I tried to play the video, the audio didn't work, so I had to end up narrating over it. You want me to just hit play and see if it works? Guys, are you able to hear that audio on that?
I'm not hearing the audio on that.
Okay, I'll just narrate over it. It's fine. That's what I did in the...
That's probably better anyway.
Okay, so basically this is just showing you in Google Docs how you would set up your headings and your subheadings. So I just kind of took a little bit of information about the movie Die Hard just because. So when you get all of your text typed in, you're going to want to go in and highlight the text that you're wanting to apply the heading or the subheading to. And again, this is going to help screen readers to navigate that little bit of text. So you just highlight the text, and then you go up to the top where it says normal text. That's your styles button. And click the down arrow, and then you pick what you want to apply to that section. So for Die Hard, I'm going to do title. And then if you go down and highlight movie information next, I would go up and make that a heading 1. Rating, stars, and trivia, all of that stuff would be, like if you were doing an outline format, that would be indented 1 over from movie information. So I would make that a heading 2. And then you can just keep on and go down even to a heading 3 as well, if you want to do that. So that's how you would do that in Google Docs. Also, in text formatting, you want to look at your font choices. You want to stick to 1 or 2 fonts. You don't want to have a whole bunch of fonts all over the place. Verdana, Tahoma, Trebuchet MS, and Georgia are all designed for the web. You don't want to use script and novelty fonts, and you don't want to use all caps because that's yelling. And one thing that I always use that I didn't really even know was a thing, I just like the way that it looked, is called camel case. And you use that in hashtags. You're going to capitalize the first letter of each word in the phrase. So in the correct example here, it would be hashtag capital we, capital stick, capital together. That's a sticker poster hashtag I use quite a lot because we have sticker posters here in my library. The screen reader, if it saw that, it would say hashtag we stick together. If you just ran it all together, all in lowercase letters, the screen reader is going to read each individual character because it's not going to know where to begin and end those words. And that's going to take a really long time also. We don't want to do that. The next aspect is PDF readability. If a PDF is just a scanned image, the screen readers are not going to work with it. So if you can Control F and search the PDF, or if you can highlight text in it, then it's an accessible PDF for a screen reader. And if you can't Control F to search and you can't highlight text, it's probably an image and it's not going to work with those screen readers. In use of color, you want to make sure you have a good contrast between your text and your background color, because as you can see, like on that top one there, it is, you really can't see what it says. And actually it says this is not very accessible. As you get a lighter color background, it becomes more accessible. Black on white is the best choice if it's going to be more than a few words, but white on black can also be a good choice for some students with visual impairments. And in The Perfect Blend, Michelle Eaton talks about a contrast checker tool, which I have linked there, which you can use to check and see your contrast ratio. And in order to do that, you need to know the color hex decimal codes. Now, there are extensions that you can get for Google Chrome that work like an eyedropper and let you like just sample a little bit of the color, but you can also do it right in Google Slides if that's what you're using. So when you have your slide pulled up and you've got your background and you've got your text and you've got everything the way that you want it, then you're just going to go to the thing that you want to use to check. You're going to click on your text first. And then, sorry, I'm trying to narrate kind of blindly because I don't have the audio playing. Let's see here. It's still going. Okay, so you click on your text, and then you're going to go and you're going to act like you're changing the color. You're not really changing the color, but you're going to go to the same spot that you would go to change your text color and go down to custom at the very bottom. And when you click on that, it's got your hex decimal code right up there at the top. So you can copy that and paste it over into your contrast checker tool. And you're going to use that as the foreground color because that's what's up front. That's your text. And then you just go back and then you're going to highlight your shape that's behind the text and do the same thing. You're going to act like you're going to change that fill color, but you're really not. Go down to custom. There's your hex decimal code. Copy it over into the contrast checker as the background color. And it will tell you your contrast ratio. The higher, the better. This one's 1.25 to 1, which is not a very good contrast ratio. So, and that's the same as the one example here on the top. The one that's more accessible with the light purple background is 9.43 to 1. The contrast ratio of black on white or vice versa is 21 to 1. So that's what you're looking for in a contrast. The next point is animations and visual effects. It can be harmful to individuals or students that have seizure disorders. So web accessibility guidelines is calling for no more than 3 flashes per second. But I mean, we can't really sit there and count the flashes usually. And a lot of things flash. Ads flash, scrolling RSS feeds. There's all kinds of other flashing content. So basically the best thing to do is just don't use any flashing or blinking animations, because then you know you're fine. If you're doing presentations, you want to do a slow transition. Direct students to websites without those flashing ads and other aspects, but if you have to, you can use a Chrome extension like Adobe, which is linked there, to download that website as a PDF and present it to your students that way. And if your site that you're directing the students to has an RSS feed, make sure it's got a pause option so they can stop the scrolling. Hyperlinks should have an appropriate name that shows what the user is going to, not just like click here or some other vague name. So on the right-hand side, this is a graphic from the book, web accessibility information. That's perfect because they know exactly what's going to happen when they click on that. Click here is not good. And using the URL as the hyperlink text is really bad, especially for a screen reader, because it's going to sit there and read each individual character just like it would do with a hashtag that was not in camel case. And again, that's going to take forever. Images should have alt text, which is a short description of an image. So for this Bitmoji here, an alt text would be Bitmoji image of Mrs. Johnson in a blue shirt, smiling and giving a thumbs up behind a large green check mark. And you can do that in Google Slides by just right-clicking the image and selecting alt text. It is visible to screen readers, but it does not show on the actual page. And you can use it on a whole bunch of different sites, but the process is different. For example, Twitter, when you very first upload the image, if you click edit, then alt, you can put your alt tag on. Longer descriptions are more like a transcript, and those are awesome for infographics, charts, and any kind of image that has a lot of information on it. Bitmoji classrooms, they're great. I have so many Bitmoji things, but the only bad thing about them is they can be a real bandwidth hog because each individual image has to load up. And if it's something that you're going to be editing a whole lot, then you're probably fine because this is kind of a bit of an involved process. But basically what you would do is you would get your Bitmoji classroom set up completely the way that you want it, all the images and everything in place. And then you're going to download the image of that slide and you're going to turn it into a background. So you go into File, and before you download it, you're going to go to the page setup, because if you don't do this, it's going to make it very grainy when you do download it. So you go to the page setup. Let me back up just a little bit. And you're going to select custom. And whatever's there, add a 0 to it. So we've got 10. We're going to change that to 100 on the width. We've got 5.63. We're going to change it to 56.3 on the width. And that is going to make it to where when you download that image as a PNG, you can use it as a background and it's not going to look fuzzy or blurry or anything like that. The only thing I would caution is make sure that when you get done downloading it, you go back and change that back, because if you go back to do any more edits to this particular slide, like 12-point font is going to be super tiny. So you just need to make sure that you change it back. But then you would go to another presentation and you're going to set the background of your slide as the image that you just downloaded with the changes to the size and make it as a background. Then what you're going to do is anywhere that the student needs to click, you're going to, and oh, this shows the difference in the resolution. So you can see, especially with the letters, you can see it's a little less fuzzy on slide number 2. So then what you're going to do is you're going to, anywhere that the student needs to click on it, you're just going to go over that background and you're going to insert a clear box, a transparent box. So you're just going to draw a shape right over the top of whatever Bitmoji you want them to click on. So for example, here I'm just going to draw one over door number 1. Just make it roughly the same size. And then up for fill, we're going to change that to transparent. And now you can do your link, Control K, and put in your link that you want to add to it. And then that way they're not waiting for so many images to load, because they're really just waiting for that background image to load, because everything else is transparent. And let's see. Math equations have to be checked for accessibility by a screen reader. If you cannot highlight parts of the equation, it's probably an image. You can use an alt tag with the math symbols typed out as words if it's an image, or you can use an equation editor tool with the Math ML designation, or use Microsoft Word because their equation editor is accessible. Keyboard navigation, if you have difficulty with fine motor skills in your students, it's hard for them to use that touchpad or mouse. You can test a site for keyboard navigation by using tab, see if it goes to the next button that you could click. Shift tab takes you back, enter or spacebar clicks on the selected link. Microsoft Office and G Suite includes that. And then there's some more keyboard navigation checkers that are linked over there on the side. Video captions and transcripts. They have to have accurate transcripts or captions to be accessibility compliant. Some automatic captions are better than others. YouTube will allow you to edit or upload captions on your own content, but you can create transcripts for other people's videos if the captions aren't that great. And on the right, it shows some ways that you can get those set up in Google tools like Docs, Slides, and Meet. And these are just the key points, just a little bit of a recap with the ISTE standards there. Make sure that all your students can engage with your content, make sure it's accessible, because it is our legal obligation, but it's also what's best for our students. And you might not have time to go back and fix all the stuff that you've already made, and that's fine. But you can focus on, from this point on, going forward, making sure that all your digital content is accessible. And that was chapter 10.
That was outstanding. I gotta say, I was not aware of the screen reader info or the trick. 'Cause we downloaded a lot of slides as images, which is great to get a picture from that slide, but to increase the resolution of it and make it sharper, that is such a handy little trick. And I love doing the clear transparency for the buttons. Those were just neat little pieces. Now, were those in the book, or did you just add those in?
That's actually based on something that I found on Twitter, where someone was talking about how bad the Bitmoji classrooms were. So I just threw that in because I just kind of discovered it. I was like, well, I did this, but my picture looks awful. So I just started Googling and trying to find a way to fix it.
That is outstanding. Thank you for those little helps there. All right. Kayla, Donna, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't. I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for presenting. I know Dr. Isaac said she was going out and doing some things. This is just amazing work, and I will say the same thing that she was saying, that we appreciate the leaders in the district like yourselves going out and doing this for our teachers and taking that dive into she had a lot of water analogies, taking that dive in and learning how to blend these things, because yeah, technology is very dependent now, but we don't want it to go away, and we have those skills, and then getting it to go into how we would use that in the brick and mortar classroom to get the both and maximize our time, make our lives easier. What is the best way to do that? And there's a lot of great information in here, great best practices. So thank you both for your work.
Thank you for letting us come on and share information that we've learned.
No problem.
Thank you
All
for having
right.
us.
And I do believe that was our last episode for the day. I am Jim Unger with JCPS Digital Innovation. This is the JCPS Digital Learning Channel. Subscribe, check out the videos, check out the playlists. This and all the other great episodes from today will be uploaded. You can see them at your pace, skip to the parts you want, and we will see you back again another day. And that's the end.